Chapter 1850. Tian Beichin's aged face remained silent for a while before he smiled faintly and said, "It's fine. When the time comes, we'll just treat the evil warding yin-yang chain as a gift to the desolate country. I feel that the little guy isn't a petty person. Even if he loses out this time, he can't blame us. However, next time, we Taoists will have to be wary of that little guy." The evil warding yin-yang chain. Peng Qiang smiled bitterly. He was also very helpless when facing this patriarch in front of him. Su Lingzi was the descendant of this patriarch. The evil warding yin-yang chain was given to Su Lingzi because of this patriarch's approval. In the end, the evil warding yin-yang chain was cheated by Du Xiaofu. This patriarch was clearly standing up for his descendant and wanted to fill the hole that the Taoists had fallen into back then. The land was beautiful, and the mountains were quiet. This was the celestial space that Du Xiaofu had entered. Within the mountains and peaks, there were many cave residences. Within the space, there were many young Taoist disciples. A few of these Taoist disciples had weak cultivations and had just started cultivating. Most of them had yet to officially start cultivating. Some were comprehending something in front of the stone tablet, while others were looking around. Seeing Du Xiaofu's arrival, these young Taoist disciples were puzzled. However, when they felt the invisible aura emanating from Du Xiaofu's body, they did not dare to approach and ask. They could only watch from afar, their hearts trembling for no reason. Inaction of the heavenly Tao, the Tao follows nature. Not far from the entrance to the space, there was a huge cliff with these words carved on it. Du Xiaofu raised his head and looked at it. After a while he left. Inaction of the heavenly Tao, also known as the inaction of the heavenly Tao, is actually easy to do, but its words are difficult to understand. Its art uses nothingness as its foundation and follows the rules as its application. Without becoming an object, it is impermanent, so it can study the feelings of all things. It is neither before nor after things, so it can be the master of all things. The Tao follows nature, and naturally is not an inanimate object, so the Tao is impermanent. The Tao changes according to the situation. A moment later, Du Xiaofu sat cross-legged in an ancient cave abode behind the cliff. He was comprehending the insights left behind by the Taoist ancestors on the stone steels in the cave abode. This was not a martial art, nor was it a martial art, but Du Xiaofu was art. But he was trying to figure it out. After a few days, Du Xiaofu left the celestial space. Moving with the time, according to the changes, the saints, immortals, immortals, time is defending. In front of a stone tablet, Du Xiaofu muttered the words left behind by the Taoist ancestors on the stone tablet. He seemed to be deep in thought. When one attains nothingness, one's mind becomes clear. Not burdened by material things, detached from material things, and occupied with them. Heart evil undo. Warding is come be purple lightning stars come to art to him to chint. Golden light, stars not come, be and be his, ti his tis, ti, times Tian, and times Ming, time passed by slowly. Since Du Xiaofu entered Taoism, a month had passed in the blink of an eye. The outside world was still very peaceful. There were no more major disputes in Kyushu. Phoenix Clan on Wutong Mountain. In the mysterious space, even the air was filled with a blazing aura. Blazing flames were spreading out from the void. Walala, it was a type of scarlet flame that could instantly incinerate even experts into ashes. At this moment, in this scorching space, the raging flames covered the void like a sea of fire. In the entire space, the space that was burning with high temperature revealed pitch-black spatial cracks. However, there was a scarlet gold dragon entrenched within it. This strange dragon quietly traversed the void. Its eyes were tightly shut, and its wings emitted a dazzling flame. Its enormous body was wrapped in blazing flames, and there was a mysterious third eye that was tightly shut between its brows. At this moment, it seemed as though there were flames pulsating within it. The strange golden dragon seemed to have been in this space for a long time. Black mist that was hard to see with the naked eye began to spread out from its scales. Those were the impurities in the deepest part of its body. At this moment, They were being refined under the terrifying high temperature. No one knew when it started, but in this space, blazing spatial ripples began to fluctuate. There was a burst of seven-colored light that bloomed with dazzling light. An invisible energy of heaven and earth began to gather. Finally, it condensed, arranged, and evolved in this blazing void. Then, it slowly turned into a huge vermilion bird shadow. It was exactly the same as the vermilion bird shadow on the spiritual sparrow stage. At this moment, in the same Phoenix clan, in the same blazing space, it was like a sea of divine fire. The five-colored divine fire was gorgeous. There were two figures, a man and a woman, sitting cross-legged in two different places. Under such blazing five-colored flames, it was enough to easily burn a martial domain realm expert into ashes. However, at this moment, the man and woman were sitting cross-legged. The terrifying five-colored flames surrounded the two of them, entering and exiting from their bodies. It was extremely mystical. In a corner of the vast five-colored divine fire sea, if one did not look carefully, one would not notice that there was a fingernail-sized dazzling green flying ant wrapped in the five-colored divine fire. The flying ant, which looked so weak that it could be crushed with a finger, was persevering in this terrifying five-colored divine fire. The body of this strange flying ant was filled with dazzling green light. Under the burning of the five-colored divine fire, it was emitting a five-colored brilliance from inside out. Squeak, squeak. Sharp squeaking sounds came from the mouth of this strange flying ant. It was as if it was enduring an unbearable pain, and its body was twitching and struggling. However, this strange flying ant was still persevering. Its small eyes were filled with five-colored divine fire, but there was a kind of tenacity in it. This strange flying ant was the soul-devouring divine ant, the little ant emperor. It had been brought into the Nirvana divine pool by Huangling. The little ant emperor was transforming in the Nirvana divine pool. However, this transformation was extremely dangerous for the little ant emperor. If it could persevere until it succeeded, it would be able to get rid of its illness and become the supreme ant phoenix. At that time, the supreme ant phoenix would reappear. To the little ant emperor, it would be a metamorphosis, and it would definitely shock the world. Somewhere in this world, clouds and mist lingered, as if they had reached the end of this world. There was a vast and boundless plain. Time seemed to be frozen here, and it was as if time had lost its meaning. Looking from afar, there was a huge circle in the middle of the plain. The circle was divided into two, forming the two extremes of yin and yang. It was faintly discernible, but no one could see it. This was a pure land that did not belong to the mortal world, and no living beings could set foot in it. Then, a black mist lingered in this pure land that no living beings could set foot in. An evil aura seeped out from the void, and it was accompanied by the cries of ghosts and the howls of gods. Rumble! The ground on the plain shook, and the yin and yang diagram shone brightly. The void also trembled and rumbled. At the same time, a floating palace suddenly appeared in midair. A middle-aged man in plain robes stood outside the palace with his hands behind his back. His eyes narrowed as he looked at the surging evil aura in the void. Chi-la-la! Above the dark void, the evil aura covered the sky. A huge demonic hand stretched out, and it was accompanied by layers of demonic shadows and the cries of ghosts and the howls of gods. It directly pressed down on the yin and yang diagram on the plane. Boom! This demonic hand was filled with monstrous demonic aura, and it tore through the void. A large area of space collapsed under the pressure, and black spatial cracks spread out in all directions. You haven't recovered enough to break the seal. The middle-aged man in plain robes stood outside the palace door and spoke as if he was the ruler of this world. Dazzling runes flashed in his eyes, and the silent aura fluctuation caused the space to tremble quietly. The huge palace he was in was filled with runes, and it turned into a dazzling light beam. It was like a thunderbolt, and it charged straight at the demonic hand. Rumble! Such a collision caused the world to tremble. The demonic hand and the light beam collapsed at the same time, and the runes shattered and swept in all directions. I can't hold on for much longer. When I recover, I'll use you as a sacrifice for my great cause. The voice came from the void, and then it disappeared along with the demonic aura in the void. The rumbling sound returned to normal as well, as if nothing had ever happened. Swoosh, from the void, a figure descended. It looked like a 12 or 13-year-old boy, but there was no immaturity on the boy's face. Instead, it was filled with vicissitudes and wisdom. There's not much time left. He's recovering stronger and stronger. I'm afraid the seal will be opened ahead of time. Looking at the direction where the demonic hand disappeared, the boy's deep eyes were like black holes, and there was a dignified look. There's not much time left. The middle-aged man in plain robes looked at the boy, and his eyes became calm again. He said, "But that little guy is not enough. Time is short." Hearing this, the boy's eyes were filled with vicissitudes. He said lightly, "Where is that boy now?" "He went to the Phoenix clan and the Confucian school. He's now in the Taoist school." The middle-aged man said, "What does that boy want to do?" The boy was puzzled. He frowned and said, "Does that boy want to unite the 9 great families and the Phoenix clan?" The 9 great families have their own goals. The Phoenix clan and the dragons are not easy to win over. The demon is already recovering. We don't have much time left. The middle-aged man in plain robes looked at the void, and his body was rippling with a mysterious aura. He said, "Try to delay as much time as possible. That boy cultivates the techniques of the Rock clan, and he also has the Thunder Vein and legalism spiritual root. It's a miracle in itself. Maybe he can really play a role in the end. Besides, there are still 2 unforeseen events. We haven't reached the final step, and it won't be easy for the demon to completely return." Chapter 1851. In a cave on a mountain peak. The heart of the heavens and earth is equal, not tiring by right or wrong, detached from worldly affairs and not intentional, Du Xiaofu muttered as he looked at the words carved on the wall, seemingly comprehending something. For 3 whole months, Du Xiaofu had been comprehending the insights left behind by the Taoist ancestors in the lunar space. The more he comprehended, the calmer he felt in his heart. These insights were not martial arts insights, but Du Xiaofu shockingly discovered that these insights were greatly beneficial to his state of mind. They could calm his mind and clear his mind. These insights seemed ordinary and boring, but if one were to comprehend them carefully, they were extremely vast, unfathomable, and all-encompassing. It was like a bowl of clear water. It seemed ordinary and tasteless, but without water, one would not be able to survive. Countless streams converged to form rivers and lakes, and finally an ocean. How vast would that be? These insights were like plain porridge and white rice. They seemed ordinary, but they were the most nourishing. The more he comprehended, the more surprised and delighted Du Xiaofu was. He was immersed in them. The lunar space was vast, but it could not stop Du Xiaofu from comprehending. This is not martial arts, but it is better than martial arts. It is not a coincidence that the Taoist sect became one of the 9 great clans. Du Xiaofu said softly. His eyes were filled with shock, and then he left. These insights were vast, and comprehending them was not something that could be done in a day. During this period of time in the lunar space, although there was no substantial improvement in his cultivation, Du Xiaofu knew that what he had gained was much greater than the substantial improvement in his cultivation. Who is he? I don't think there is anyone like him among the disciples of the Taoist sect. Could he be someone from a faction that converted? To be able to enter the lunar space, he must have some background. With Du Xiaofu's appearance, many young men and women in the lunar space started to discuss. They whispered to each other from afar and were extremely curious. It's about time. Du Xiaofu ignored the whispers of the Taoist disciples around him. The celestial space wasn't too big, and there were more or less places to comprehend. Some insights couldn't be comprehended overnight. 100 days were almost up, and Du Xiaofu planned to walk around before leaving. Suddenly, Du Xiaofu saw a stone wall. It looked ordinary and was surrounded by green vines. However, he could vaguely see some characters engraved on the stone tablet. Several large characters vaguely attracted Du Xiaofu's attention. Phew, Du Xiaofu was puzzled. With a flick of his purple sleeve, a golden light gushed out and turned into a gust of wind. It dispersed the green vines on the stone tablet, and a row of engraved characters was completely revealed. What is that fellow doing? There are words on the stone wall. In the distance, many young Taoist men and women looked curiously from afar. However, they didn't dare to get close under that formless aura. Heaven and earth are heartless, treating all living things as straw dogs. Sovereign is heartless, treating all living things as straw dogs. At this moment, when the green vines dispersed, Du Xiaofu stood in front of the stone wall and looked at the engraved characters on the stone wall. On his puzzled face, he couldn't help but smile. Haha, Du Xiaofu couldn't help but laugh out loud. His mind immediately fell on the stone wall. In just a short period of time, the characters on the stone wall suddenly began to fluctuate. Walala, then the characters seemed to be alive. They formed a vortex on the stone wall, and a faint light was released. I've searched high and low for it, Du Xiaofu smiled. His figure soared into the sky as he reached out his hand. A faint golden xian qi gushed out from his palm and directly touched the character vortex. Crack, crack. In a short moment, the stone wall cracked. The light released by the character vortex became more and more dazzling. An extremely domineering aura suddenly descended, and then cracks covered the entire stone wall. At this moment, the dazzling light became more and more dazzling, causing Du Xiaofu to close his eyes. The dazzling light spread out like a falling sun, causing the young Taoist men and women in the distance to be unable to open their eyes. Under the invisible domineering aura, all of them trembled and collapsed to the ground. Qi-la! Just as Du Xiaofu closed his eyes, the character vortex on the stone wall burst out of the stone wall and directly enveloped Du Xiaofu's body. Then, a bright rune stream directly rushed into the space between Du Xiaofu's eyebrows. Following the heavens may not exist. Defying the heavens should be laughed at. On the path of cultivation, going against the heavens is impossible without great perseverance and perseverance. You already have the first 3 seals on you. This is the 4th seal of the Xian Huang 4-division seal, the Tai Yang seal. There is the Tai Yang seal, which gives birth to the Yin and Yang. The Yin and Yang give birth to the 4 divisions. If you can fuse the 4 seals and form the mysterious yellow emperor seal, you might be able to see this emperor in the future. The domineering old and familiar voice slowly disappeared from Du Xiaofu's mind. Ka-ka! The light on the stone wall slowly extinguished, and the entire cracked stone wall began to collapse. The earth shook and the mountains shook, turning into dust, causing more and more young Taoist men and women in the distance to be shocked. At the same time, a dazzling rune appeared in Du Xiaofu's mind. It was the cultivation method of the 4th seal of the mysterious yellow emperor seal that he was familiar with. Back then, in the ancient heaven sect, Hahuan school, and on the dragons, Du Xiaofu had obtained the first 3 seals of the mysterious yellow 4-symbol seal. The whereabouts of the 4th seal had never been known, and he had always been secretly paying attention to it. However, he did not expect that the 4th seal was actually lying quietly in this Taoist lunar space. The mysterious yellow 4-symbol seal was not an ordinary martial skill, but a martial art that contained the mysteries of heaven and earth, as well as the mysteries of yin and yang. Du Xiaofu already had the experience of cultivating the first 3 seals, so there was naturally no reason for him not to cultivate at this moment. Qi-la! In just about half a day, in front of the mountain wall that had turned into dust, Du Xiaofu's handprints condensed, and a strange and violent energy fluctuation suddenly rippled from the cave. As Du Xiaofu's handprints condensed, the energy fluctuation around his body became more and more violent. Traces of red energy that seemed to have solidified suddenly seeped out of the void and wrapped around his body, spinning crazily. Ka-ka! Accompanied by the bright red runes, the surrounding void was distorted by the impact. When the last handprint condensed, Du Xiaofu's palm was suddenly covered with a bright red energy handprint. Waves of violent energy of heaven and earth, almost solidified, poured into the handprint continuously. Then, it was as bright as the sun in the sky, and the light was like lightning. Boom! When the handprint was formed, a terrifying and domineering energy overflowed, shaking the entire void and causing it to tremble and roar. Chapter 1852. Qi. However, this terrifying palm print that was as bright as the sun retracted back into Du Xiaofu's palm at lightning speed. Rumble, however, it was too late. Many mountains around them collapsed, the earth shook, and the space trembled. Fortunately, Du Xiaofu retracted it quickly, and the area affected was not too big. Luckily, Du Xiaofu retreated quickly and looked at the mess in front of him. Fortunately, it did not affect the young Taoist disciples in the distance. The fourth seal, but I don't know if I confuse the four seals. Du Xiaofu judged the power of the fourth seal of the Xianhuang four-elephant seal. It would not be weaker than the first three seals, and might even surpass them. However, the strongest part of the Xianhuang four-elephant seal was not the seal alone, but the overlapping of the seals. When the four seals overlapped to form the Xianhuang Emperor seal, it was rumored that it could suppress all living things. That was the most terrifying thing. However, Du Xiaofu knew without thinking that although he had successfully cultivated the fourth seal, the extreme yang seal, it would not be easy to fuse the four seals. However, it was not the time to fuse the four seals in Taoist now. It would not be too late to try fusing the four seals when there was time. It's about time. I should go out. Then he used his mind to check the 100 Taoist disciples and experts who were undergoing the divine thunder body tempering in the purple thunder profound cauldron. Du Xiaofu narrowed his eyes. It was about time. He crushed the jade scroll left behind by the Taoist in the stellar space. Amidst the spatial fluctuations, light flashed, and his figure disappeared into the void. What's going on? That person seems to have obtained some kind of powerful martial art. What a domineering aura. I don't think there are any martial arts in our Taoist sect that can have such a domineering aura. It must be a profound martial art of our Taoist sect that was obtained by that person just now. As Du Xiaofu left, the gathered Taoist disciples discussed in shock. That domineering and terrifying aura made them feel lingering fear as they watched from afar. 800 days are almost up. I wonder how that guy is comprehending in the stellar space? In a large hall, Peng Qiang's eyes narrowed as light fluctuated. There isn't any martial art in the cosmic space, but it is the experience and comprehension left behind by our Taoist ancestors. As for how much benefit that little guy can gain from the cosmic space, that will depend on him. An elder with an old face said with a smile in his eyes. He knew that Du Xiaofu wouldn't be able to obtain any benefits from the lunar space. However, he couldn't blame the Taoist sect for this. After hesitating for a while, Peng Qiang said, "That little guy is not to be trifled with. 100 spots for the divine thunder body tempering ceremony is not a small number. When he comes out, I'll give him some benefits. It can be considered as leaving an extra path for our Taoism." That's true. When the time comes, that little fellow will have even less to say. The elder with the aged face laughed. High Lord, Elder Guan, Demon King Du Xiaofu has left the cosmic space. At that moment, a Taoist disciple came to report. He's out already? Peng Qiang and Elder Guan looked at each other, and their figures instantly disappeared. After a while, Su Yangzi, Su Lingzi, and many other Taoist experts and elders flew out from the purple thunder profound cauldron in the Taoist hall. Ha! Many people's laughter was like thunder, and it shook the hall. Accompanied by the fluctuation of purple arcs of lightning that emitted a sizzling sound, numerous figures flashed out. Their auras were vigorous, and their eyes flashed with dazzling and resplendent lights. 1 month was enough for the divine thunder body tempering ceremony. These Taoist elders and experts, as well as Su Yangzi, spent the rest of their time in the purple thunder profound cauldron. Each of them refined their physical bodies and improved their martial veins, obtaining great benefits. The divine thunder body tempering ceremony is indeed worthy of its reputation. I'm going to cultivate in seclusion for a while. Thank you, little friend. Little friend, thank you. Many Taoist experts and elders smiled at Du Xiaofu. All of them could feel that they had obtained great benefits. Many elders who were stuck at a bottleneck really felt that the bottleneck was beginning to loosen. There was hope for them to go further. To them, this was an irresistible temptation. Everyone, you're too polite. Du Xiaofu smiled indifferently. Such an outcome was not strange. The purple-gold profound lightning refined the physical body and improved the martial veins, bringing about great benefits. This time, Du Xiaofu wanted to take the opportunity to enter the Taoist secret ground by giving the Taoist 100 spots for the divine thunder body tempering ceremony. Du Xiaofu also had another purpose. The great tribulation of heaven and earth was coming again, and the 9 great families would be the backbone. At this time, increasing the strength of the Taoist experts would give them more power to resist the great tribulation of heaven and earth in the future. Little friend, how is your comprehension in the cosmic space? Old ancestor Tian Beiqin was also in the hall and asked Du Xiaofu. I have some comprehension. Du Xiaofu smiled. Not to mention that he had obtained the extreme Yang seal, the 4th seal of the Xianhuang 4 symbols seal, which he had been secretly searching for. This trip was already worth it. Moreover, only Du Xiaofu knew the benefits he had obtained in the cosmic space. The benefits to him were not inferior to the extreme Yang seal. Perhaps in the future, the benefits he would obtain in the cosmic space this time might be even greater than the extreme Yang seal. Hearing this, the Taoist experts and elders who had obtained benefits in the hall all looked a little embarrassed. The benefits they had obtained were greater than they had imagined. However, they knew best what kind of place the cosmic space was. At this moment, they could not help but feel that they had cheated the little guy before them. Tian Beiqin's expression also changed slightly. He originally thought that Du Xiaofu would have an ugly expression when he came out. He did not expect that this little guy did not seem to care about losing out at all. This made him a little puzzled and surprised. I have already disturbed the Taoist sect. I plan to leave now. Du Xiaofu said. He had already stayed in the Taoist sect for close to 100 days. He planned to leave and properly digest what he had obtained from the Taoist sect. You're leaving already? Many Taoist elders and experts tried to persuade him to stay. Having obtained benefits, their impression of Du Xiaofu improved significantly. However, Du Xiaofu had already decided to leave as soon as possible. He declined the Taoist experts' and elders' attempts to persuade him to stay. Little friend, this is the heavenly spiritual pill, a treasure of the Taoist sect. 9 types of precious herbs and many heavenly and earthly treasures are needed to refine a cauldron of 9 pills. The success rate is extremely low. Its effect is to cleanse the soul. Its value is immeasurable. In the past 2,000 years, our Taoist medicine talisman master experts have only succeeded in refining 1 cauldron. Before leaving, Peng Qiang took out a jade box and handed it to Du Xiaofu. Inside the box was a heavenly spiritual pill of the Taoist sect. After obtaining the benefits of the divine thunder body tempering, the Taoist experts and elders' disciples had obtained more benefits than they had imagined. This made Peng Qiang feel a little uneasy, especially when Du Xiaofu was in a hurry to leave. This made Peng Qiang think that Du Xiaofu was already unhappy about the lunar space. Therefore, he gritted his teeth and gave the heavenly spiritual pill to Du Xiaofu. This is a treasure. Du Xiaofu did not hesitate at all. He directly took the heavenly spiritual pill from Peng Qiang's hand. 9 types of precious herbs and many heavenly and earthly treasures were needed to refine a cauldron of 9 pills. The success rate was extremely low, which meant that each refinement might not succeed. It had the effect of cleansing the soul. This was simply an absolute treasure. Du Xiaofu had heard of the Taoist sect's ability to refine pills for a long time. Even his master, Xiahou Fenglei, and his elder brother, Zhen Qingchun, had praised them. Now that he had the heavenly spiritual pill, how could Du Xiaofu be polite? Little friend, be careful on the way. The devil religion is ready to make a move. Seeing Du Xiaofu put away the heavenly spiritual pill, Peng Qiang was relieved. It was fine as long as he did not offend this little guy. Thank you for your generous gift, my lord. Goodbye. After putting away the heavenly spiritual pill, Du Xiaofu turned into a golden rainbow and disappeared into the void. Whoosh, a Taoist youth hurried over and looked at Peng Qiang. He said, My lord, something happened in the lunar space. You'd better go and take a look yourself. What happened in the lunar space? Peng Qiang's expression changed slightly. It has something to do with the demon king, Du Xiaofu, the youth said. Hearing this, Peng Qiang frowned. Chapter 1853. Moments later, in the lunar space, in front of the messy stone wall, many old figures gathered around. Powerful auras were fluctuating around them. Old ancestor, honorable lord, from the mouths of many disciples, it was the demon king Du Xiaofu who discovered this place. After that, a rune rushed out from the stone wall with a terrifying aura, causing a huge commotion. A middle-aged Taoist came to Tianbei Qin and Peng Qiang's side and said, he had asked many disciples, so the information he received could not be wrong. A very domineering aura. It's extraordinary, and there's a shocking martial art hidden within. It's a pity that no one in our Taoist sect was able to comprehend it, and it was obtained by Du Xiaofu, Tianbei Qin said. The remnant aura lingering in the surroundings could not escape his prying eyes. It was a terrifying and domineering martial art, and definitely not simple. That martial art had always been in the lunar space, but it had never been comprehended by the disciples of the Taoist sect. Without a doubt, it had fallen into the hands of Du Xiaofu. I wonder what kind of martial art it is. Why can't our disciples comprehend it? I hope it's not a profound martial art. Otherwise, we'll have to ask Du Xiaofu for a copy. I didn't expect that there would be a martial art hidden on the stone wall. No one has paid much attention to it for so many years. I've seen that stone wall before, but I didn't pay much attention to it. I didn't expect it to contain a martial art. The group of elders discussed animatedly. They were surprised and regretful. No wonder that kid left in a hurry. It turns out that he obtained a profound martial art. It seems that the martial art must be extraordinary. I miscalculated. Old ancestor Tianbei Qin felt a little heartache. He originally wanted to take advantage of Du Xiaofu, so he arranged for Du Xiaofu to enter the lunar space. Who would have thought that there was a profound martial art hidden in the lunar space that could be comprehended? This was a huge miscalculation. It's not just a miscalculation. Peng Qiang was even more speechless. His heart was bleeding. A heaven spirit pellet was a treasure of immeasurable value. He originally thought that Du Xiaofu would get nothing, so he gritted his teeth and took out a heaven spirit pellet. At this moment, Peng Qiang knew that Du Xiaofu had left in a hurry and took away the profound Taoist sect's lunar space. From the domineering aura and the mess, the martial art on the stone wall was extraordinary. However, Peng Qiang and Tianbei Qin did not know that Du Xiaofu left in a hurry not because he was afraid that the Taoists would find out that he had obtained the fourth seal of the Xian Huang Four Images seal. Instead, he felt that he had gained some enlightenment in the Taoists and had stayed for quite some time. After leaving Taoism, Du Xiaofu continued to comprehend what he had gained from Taoism. Dawn, it dawned. After the darkness before dawn, the first ray of sunlight shone from the eastern horizon. Walala! At the peak of the mountain, the starlight fluctuated. Then, a purple-robed man appeared. When he opened his eyes, a golden light shone in his eyes. An invisible aura shook the void around him. This purple-robed man was Du Xiaofu from the Taoist sect. Feeling the Xian Qi in his body and the power of the primordial spirit in his mind, a smile appeared on his resolute face. Ever since he had broken through to the reincarnation nirvana stage, Du Xiaofu felt that his cultivation level and strength had improved significantly. From the looks of it, he had made the right choice. Comprehending from various places was extremely beneficial to his cultivation. Especially from Confucianism and Taoism, he had gained a lot of benefits. This made Du Xiaofu even more certain of his choice. Confucianism, Taoism, School of Agriculture, School of Moism, School of Yin-Yang, School of Famous Scholars, School of Vertical and Horizontal, Legalism, Buddhism, Du Xiaofu muttered softly. The 9 great families, School of Famous, School of Vertical and Horizontal, and Legalism. Du Xiaofu reckoned that he didn't have to think about comprehending anything. As for Buddhism, he didn't seem to be too familiar with it. School of Agriculture, School of Moism, School of Yin-Yang, Du Xiaofu pondered. Other than Confucianism and Taoism, he could only go to the School of Agriculture, School of Moism, and School of Yin-Yang. I'll have to go eventually. I wonder how she is now. After a while, Du Xiaofu's face was a little nervous. The beautiful figure of a beautiful woman appeared in his mind. With Du Xiaofu's current cultivation level and strength, it wouldn't take long for him to travel across a continent. Du Xiaofu from the desolate country is here to visit the school of Yinyang. A few days later, Du Xiaofu arrived outside the school of Yinyang. His voice reverberated, causing ripples in space. The school of Yinyang was also the place that Du Xiaofu wanted to come this time. He wanted to comprehend the mysteries of the stars in his body, and he also missed that beautiful woman. After a while, a wormhole appeared in the void, and a group of people walked out. Light rippled, and their auras were restrained, but it caused the void to tremble. All of them were experts, and they were all elders and protectors of the school of Yinyang. Du Xiaofu had seen many of them before. With Du Xiaofu's current cultivation level and status, as well as the fact that he had helped the school of Yinyang a lot in the divine domain, these elders and protectors of the school of Yinyang were extremely polite. After some small talk, an expert from the school of Yinyang led Du Xiaofu into the school of Yinyang. After passing through the wormhole, Du Xiaofu arrived at a beautiful land. Spiritual qi was abundant everywhere, and the city was connected. This was where the school of Yinyang was located. Who came to the school of Yinyang and actually made so many elders and protectors welcome him? It should be a big shot, or else he wouldn't have the qualifications to disturb the elders, let alone so many elders. The group flew into the sky, causing the disciples of the school of Yinyang below to raise their heads and discuss. They were very surprised. Someone who could make so many elders and protectors come out to welcome him definitely wasn't a simple person. Du Xiaofu flew into the sky and looked at the land. This was the habitat of the school of Yinyang, and it was vast and spacious. Not long after, he could feel the auras of many experts rushing into the sky and then retracting. Up ahead is the ancestral land of the school of Yinyang. Ordinary disciples can't enter. An elder smiled and said to Du Xiaofu. There was a vast city in front of them, surrounded by towering mountains that were tens of thousands of feet tall. Spiritual qi lingered in the air like a white mist. It was incomparably magnificent. Coo, coo. Not long after, spiritual birds glowed, and their cries were clear as they streaked across the sky. What a treasured land! The 9 great families each have their own strengths. Du Xiaofu exclaimed. Whether it was legalism, Taoism, or Confucianism, the habitat was extraordinary. It was simply not something the outside world could compare to. The group entered the city. The enormous city flickered with light, and there were talisman patterns fluctuating, emitting an ancient aura. It was so vast and grand that Du Xiaofu was shocked. From this city, he could feel the glory of the school of Yinyang. The scenery in the city was beautiful. Not only were there pavilions and palaces, but there were also many caves. The scenery was beautiful, and the spiritual qi was abundant. It's the Demon King, Du Xiaofu. Inside the school of Yinyang, many disciples recognized Du Xiaofu and cried out in surprise. In an instant, the news that the Demon King Du Xiaofu had entered the school of Yinyang spread like a storm. Chapter 1854. In the end, Du Xiaofu was arranged to stay in a beautiful courtyard. Spiritual qi was abundant, and there were exotic flowers and plants all around. An elder from the school of Yinyang accompanied Du Xiaofu to familiarize himself with the environment. Then, after arranging for 2 young male servants, they left the courtyard. Elder, may I know where Yishi is? I would like to see her. Du Xiaofu asked. Since he came to the school of Yinyang, he naturally wanted to see her. The elder wanted to say something but hesitated. Then he said to Du Xiaofu, the Lord will receive you tomorrow. The Lord is the holy nun's father. The holy nun might appear at that time. Then, the elder left, leaving Du Xiaofu frowning slightly. It seemed that it was not easy to see Qi Yishi. The school of Yinyang's attitude seemed a little strange. In the main hall, mysterious runes were engraved. Starlight fluctuated and filled the hall. It was as if the stars were shining. Yin and Yang Qi flowed. At this moment, there were many strong cultivators sitting in the hall. That brat's aura is getting more and more unfathomable. I'm afraid he has improved a lot. The elder who had helped Du Xiaofu settle down earlier was also in the grand hall. His eyes were filled with shock. He had been secretly probing Du Xiaofu's cultivation base and strength, but to no avail. Du Xiaofu's strength was unfathomable, and there was no way for him to pry into it. Without a doubt, if they were to fight, he would most likely faint. Li Qinfa and Qin Tianshi both lost to him. This brat is too abnormal. A middle-aged man shook his head and sighed. Looking at his peers in the school of Yinyang, he could not find anyone who could compete with him. Did this brat come to our school of Yinyang to propose marriage? An old woman asked. Swish, swish. Following this old woman's words, the eyes of the entire hall fell on an old man in his 50s. To the school of Yinyang, the relationship between the holy nun Qi Yishi and the demon king Du Xiaofu was not a secret. If it was someone else, these elders would definitely not agree. But today, with Du Xiaofu's reputation, these elders had nothing to say. At the head of the hall, the old man in his 50s wore a wide robe. His face was angular, and he must have been handsome and extraordinary when he was young. His eyes were deep, and he had a majestic aura. Elders, you may disperse. The sacred ancestor is aware of this matter and will make arrangements. The 50-year-old man spoke. His expression was calm, and his gaze was unwavering. His voice was deep, and he didn't reveal anything. Divine ancestor. The elders and protectors in the hall were in an uproar. They hadn't expected that this matter would alarm the divine ancestor. The demon king Du Xiaofu is here. He must be here to see the holy nun. I think he's here to propose marriage. It's a pity that Brother Wen is no match for that guy. I'm afraid our holy nun is going to be married to that demon king. Discussions broke out in the school of Yinyang. Many young disciples gathered together and discussed the demon king Du Xiaofu. Some of the young disciples sighed. The holy nun Qi Yi, she had a high status in the school of Yinyang. Now that the demon king had come knocking on their door, it was a pity that they knew they were no match for him. In an exquisite courtyard on a beautiful mountain peak, a woman walked out. Her tall and slender figure was like a jade green lotus, pure and untainted. Her eyebrows were curved, and her face was exquisite. Her pitch-black hair swayed gently in the wind, and her eyes shone brightly. Lass, do you want to see him? A figure landed quietly, and an invisible aura rippled. It was none other than Patriarch Xinghan. Since he's here, I naturally have to see him. Qi Yi, she opened her mouth and Huayin's bright eyes rippled. Not for now. Patriarch Xinghan smiled bitterly and shook his head. Old man, what do you mean? Qi Yi, she's eyes rippled, and her aura was as vast as the sea. The depths of her eyes were like a vast galaxy, boundless and limitless. Lass, you know that I don't have any opinions about you. Patriarch Xinghan smiled helplessly as he looked at Qi Yishi. There was a doting look in his eyes as he slowly opened his mouth and said, You should know what that brat has. Others may not know, but you know very well. Qi Yishi's eyes twitched, and she looked at Patriarch Xinghan. Her voice trembled as she said, Lightning martial vein. Not many people in this world know the origin of the lightning martial vein. It has something to do with the ancestors of the Yinyang school, so we have always known about it. You have been doted on by the divine ancestor since you were young, so you should know the origin and terror of the lightning martial vein. If the time comes, Patriarch Xinghan said. He won't. It doesn't mean anything that he has the lightning martial vein. Maybe he isn't the descendant of that person. Qi Yi, she bit her lip and interrupted Patriarch Xinghan. He has several types of spiritual thunder. If he isn't the descendant of that legendary person, it would be a real miracle. The calamity of the world is coming again, and the lightning martial vein has appeared again. This can't be a coincidence. Suddenly, a faint voice came from the void, as if it had come from across time and space. Greetings, Moon Saint. When the voice came, Qi Yishi's eyes rippled, and she immediately bowed. Lass, that kid's lightning martial vein has something to do with you, right? A serene voice rang out, and a graceful figure appeared before Qi Yishi. Her dress fluttered, and her face was beautiful and mysterious. There were several hairpins in her bun, and they looked like spiderwebs, adding to her strangeness and mystery. When this graceful figure appeared, the surrounding void trembled for no reason. Her body was shrouded in a hazy radiance, and no one could see her clearly. Back then, that person was related to my Inyang school, and now that kid has awakened the lightning martial vein. It has something to do with you. Is this the will of the heavens? The calamity of the world is coming again, and I don't know if it's a blessing or a curse. You're all too young, and there are many things in this world that you don't know. You still have a long way to go. A mysterious and beautiful figure appeared and said to Chi Yeshi, I've already made arrangements. If he wins tomorrow, I'll lend him a hand. If he loses, my school of Yin Yang will have to make other arrangements. You should stay away from him in the future. Moon Saint, this is unfair to him. How many years has he cultivated? How can he be your match? Chi Yishi's face turned pale, and her expression suddenly changed. She knew how powerful the Moon Saint was. No matter how powerful that guy was, he would not be a match for the Moon Saint before her. There were not many people in this world who could be a match for the Moon Saint before her. Lass, not only did you give the profound of stars to that kid, but you're also protecting him now. You're really helping an outsider. The mysterious and beautiful woman spoke. Her eyes were so dazzling that it made people tremble. She said, Don't worry, I won't be the one to fight tomorrow. Those 5 old guys outside definitely know everything about him, and that's why they're protecting him secretly. Tomorrow, someone else will fight. He's a Nirvana Grandmaster, has lightning martial vein, and has several types of spiritual thunder. I wonder how strong he is compared to that legendary person. Chapter 1855. At night, the sky was filled with stars. The river of stars was resplendent, and the spirit mountain of the school of Yin Yang shone. It was like a dream. You're really here. A handsome man descended from the sky and patted Du Xiaofu's shoulder with a smile on his face. Du Xiaofu turned around and smiled. This handsome man was none other than Chi Yeshi's brother, Chi Jiejun. I was in seclusion. My sister told me to come. Chi Jiejun went straight to the point and looked at Du Xiaofu. He smiled bitterly and said, My sister told me to tell you that someone will fight you tomorrow. You must win or there will be some trouble. Du Xiaofu was stunned when he heard this. He still hadn't come back to his senses. Wasn't he going to see the master of the school of Yin Yang tomorrow? Looking at Du Xiaofu's surprised expression, Chi Jiejun shrugged and spread his hands. Don't look at me like that. I just came out of seclusion and don't know anything. I only know that someone from the school of Yin Yang will fight you tomorrow, but it won't be a saint. As for who it is, I don't know yet, but you must win. Du Xiaofu frowned. He still didn't know what had happened, but he thought that as long as it wasn't a saint, he should be able to handle it. Back then, he could face Li Chunfa head-on in legalism. Now, he had improved a lot, so it shouldn't be too big of a problem. Where's your sister? Du Xiaofu asked Chi Jiejun. You'll see her when you win tomorrow. Anyway, don't lose tomorrow. Chi Jiejun smiled helplessly. After that, Chi Jiejun left, leaving behind a puzzled Du Xiaofu. As long as it's not a saint, it shouldn't be too big of a problem. Looking at the twinkling stars in the sky, Du Xiaofu thought for a while, then murmured, Whatever, I'll think about it tomorrow. Completely baffled, Du Xiaofu simply stopped thinking about it. This was the school of Yin Yang, so he naturally wouldn't let go of the opportunity to comprehend the profundities of stars. The school of Yin Yang's galaxy seemed to be very different from the outside world. Cultivators who cultivated the mysteries of the stars would be able to achieve twice the results with half the effort if they cultivated here. Walala, a moment later, Du Xiaofu's body was enveloped in layers of starlight, connecting with the river of stars, flowing with brilliant colors. From within the void, a gentle and obscure aura silently appeared. Under the bright moon that was surrounded by dazzling stars, a graceful figure silently appeared, hazy and graceful. To be able to comprehend the star profound to such a level, he's not simple at all. The graceful figure murmured. Her eyes rippled with light like the moonlight. Chi Chi. Suddenly, Du Xiaofu, who was sitting cross-legged on the mountain peak, opened his eyes. Starlight surged around him and shot out from his eyes towards the sky. The graceful and hazy figure suddenly disappeared without a trace. Could it be that I was mistaken? Du Xiaofu was puzzled. He seemed to have felt a certain obscure aura just now, but it disappeared in the blink of an eye. A moment later, Du Xiaofu closed his eyes and continued to immerse himself in comprehending the mysteries of the stars. In a quiet cave, the moonlight was like a stream, pouring down on the mountains and fields. The graceful figure landed in the cave. Her beauty was hazy, and her eyes seemed to be able to see through the past and present. At this moment, she frowned slightly and said, "Why can't I see through it? His future is hazy and illusory. I heard that the Demon King Du Xiaofu is going to fight with the experts of our school of Yin Yang on the Yin Yang platform tomorrow." "Really? I wonder who from our school of Yin Yang is going to fight. It seems that no one in the same generation is a match for the Demon King, right? Could it be that the Saintess is going to make a move? Among my peers in the Yin Yang school, only the Saintess can fight Demon King Du Xiaofu. The sage nun is indeed the most qualified and powerful to fight with the Demon King Du Xiaofu. However, from the perspective of the divine domain, I'm afraid that the sage nun is slightly inferior to the Demon King Du Xiaofu. Moreover, with the relationship between the sage nun and the Demon King Du Xiaofu, there's no need for this battle. Could it be that the elders are going to fight? No matter who it is, they can't miss this battle." Overnight, the school of Yin Yang was in an uproar as the news spread like a storm. The Demon King Du Xiaofu was going to fight with the experts of the school of Yin Yang on the Yin Yang platform tomorrow. This news shocked and intrigued all the members of the school of Yin Yang. Time passed slowly. The bright moon set in the west, and dawn slowly arrived. Early in the morning, many disciples of the school of Yin Yang had gathered outside the Yin Yang balcony. There were men and women of all ages, and even more people were on their way. The Yin Yang balcony was a place that the school of Yin Yang would only open when there was a major event. The vast plaza was surrounded by mountains, and in the center was a huge stone platform that was engraved with talisman arrays. It was as stable as a boulder and unshakable. I wonder who will fight today. I'm really looking forward to it. Is the Demon King Du Xiaofu really as powerful as the rumors say? The Yin Yang balcony was filled with a hubbub of voices. The noise gathered together and soared into the sky. This level of excitement was not inferior to any other grand event. Swoosh, swoosh, in the void, the sound of wind breaking resounded. Waves of formless aura swept over as over 100 young men and women descended. All of them had extraordinary bearings. Its brother went on and the other commanders. With the arrival of these young men and women, the surrounding disciples of the school of Yin Yang became even more excited. The ones who came were Zhou Wenan and the other most outstanding disciples of the school of Yin Yang. Their positions in the school of Yin Yang were extremely high, and they were not inferior to ordinary elders and protectors. "Brother Wenan, do you think the Saintess will fight today?" Among the group of extraordinary young men and women, a delicate and pretty woman in a long dress asked Zhou Wenan, who was at the front. Zhou Wenan pondered for a moment, then revealed a bitter smile and said, "It shouldn't be. The Saintess's strength is probably not enough to deal with Du Xiaofu. This is our school of Yin Yang. If she loses, I'm afraid it won't be appropriate. I think other experts will fight. The Demon King Du Xiaofu is indeed too powerful. I'm afraid the school of Yin Yang can only send experts to fight." A young man with an extraordinary bearing said. He sighed. Back in the divine domain, he had personally witnessed how terrifying the Demon King Du Xiaofu was. The impact of that brutal and domineering aura was still unforgettable. Swoosh, swoosh, the hubbub of voices soared into the sky. Once again, the sound of wind breaking rang out as several figures arrived. The one at the front was a purple-robed man. His figure was tall and straight, and his long black hair fluttered slightly, revealing a resolute face and clear eyes. "It's him." When this purple-robed man appeared, Zhou Wenan and many other disciples of the school of Yin Yang couldn't help but tremble. Their eyes secretly trembled. "Little friend, please come to the Yin Yang balcony. We just want to broaden the horizons of the school of Yin Yang's disciples. I hope you don't mind." Among the several figures, an elder of the school of Yin Yang spoke to Du Xiaofu with a gentle and kind expression. Chapter 1856. Du Xiaofu nodded. Although he was still a little confused, he knew that he had no way out no matter the reason. He had to fight this battle. He looked at the huge stone platform in the square. Mysterious runes rippled around it, and space froze. It was supported by powerful runes. This was no ordinary place. Chi, golden light rippled beneath his feet. Du Xiaofu shot through the air and landed on the stone platform in the center of the square. When he landed, yin and yang qi flowed around him, and the square gave off a soft sound of wind and thunder. At this moment, the entire noisy square suddenly fell silent. Everyone's eyes fell on the yin-yang stage in the square. It's him, the Demon King Du Xiaofu. Many people recognized the purple-robed man, and their eyes trembled. Is he the Demon King Du Xiaofu? It's rumored that he has a close relationship with the saintess. Even more disciples of the school of yin-yang were surprised as they sized him up curiously. Was such a man really as powerful and savage as the rumors said? Du Xiaofu landed on the stone platform. He did not pay much attention to the gazes around him. He raised his head slightly and looked at a towering mountain peak in the mountains ahead. Du Xiaofu felt many familiar auras emanating from the mountain peak amidst the mist. The auras were extremely obscure, but they could not escape Du Xiaofu's sharp mental strength. The mountain peak was tall, surrounded by mist and mist. At this moment, many elders and protectors of the school of yin-yang had gathered. At the front was the head of the school of yin-yang, Qi Mingxian, ancestor Xinghun, and Qi Jejun. A beautiful figure stood there, her dress fluttering in the wind. She gazed at the familiar figure on the yin-yang platform from afar. Her eyes were like the Milky Way, and her expression was serious. However, there was a slight smile on her lips. Sister, that guy really came to find you. Qi Jejun looked at his sister, Qi Yeshi. He smiled and said, You don't say, this guy is quite reliable. He's quite bold too, daring to come to the school of yin-yang alone. I knew he would come. Qi Yeshi's lips curled into a smile. Her beautiful black hair hung loosely behind her, forming a graceful arc around her slender waist that couldn't even be grasped with one hand. Cough. Qi Mingxian coughed lightly, but his gaze had been intentionally or unintentionally looking at the purple-robed youth on the yin-yang stage. Father, that guy is pretty good. Qi Jejun shot a glance at his father beside him, seemingly feeling some instinctive fear. He clicked his tongue, before his deep eyes turned and landed on Patriarch Star Soul, before he asked weakly, But who exactly is it that's going to take action today? Could it be that Patriarch Star Soul is going to take action? However, in Qi Jejun's heart, he did not have much confidence in ancestor Xinghun. Qi Jejun knew that legalism's Qin Tianshi and Li Chunfa had both fallen. If Patriarch Star Soul were to fight with that guy, he would not be able to gain any advantage. Hearing this, Qi Yeshi's gaze also landed on Patriarch Star Soul. Her light green dress accentuated her tall and slender figure, making her look like a green lotus, pure and untainted. Hui Yu's eyes rippled, as if warning Patriarch Star Soul that if he were to take action, he should not go all out. Otherwise, there would be no end to him. Don't look at me, the two of you. I'm not the one taking action today. With that guy's strength, even if I were to take action, I would only embarrass the school of yin-yang. Patriarch Star Soul raised his eyebrows and smiled embarrassedly. Old monster Xinghun was not afraid of Li Chunfa and Qin Tianshi, but he knew in his heart that his strength was slightly inferior to the two of them. Now that Li Chunfa and Qin Tianshi had both fallen to Du Xiaofu's hands, what were his chances of winning if he were to take action? Hearing Patriarch Star Soul's words, Qi Yeshi and Qi Jejun, as well as many elders and protectors around them, were secretly puzzled. Everyone present was very puzzled. If Patriarch Star Soul was not going to take action today, who else would be able to represent the school of yin-yang in a battle with the Demon King, Du Xiaofu? Swish swish. Numerous gazes then landed on Qi Mingxian. If Patriarch Star Soul was not going to take action, everyone guessed that only the Supremes would know who would take action today. The Moon Saint has his own arrangements. I don't know who will take action today either. Qi Mingxian said with a slightly solemn expression. He also did not know who would take action today. It's here. Abruptly, ancestor Xing Hun spoke as he turned his gaze to the space above. Silently, spatial fluctuations rippled out, as well as a terrifying aura gushing forth from that location. At the same time, everyone noticed and raised their heads. A figure quietly appeared in the void and stood there. That figure looked a little old. He had long grayish-white hair and a simple robe that seemed to be a little shabby. However, it was this figure that gave people a feeling of being lofty and unapproachable. An inexplicable aura suppressed all the living beings present, causing them to tremble in fear. Who is that? The appearance of such an old man made the disciples of the school of Yin Yang confused, including Qi Yeshi. Qi Jejun did not recognize him and was secretly puzzled. However, everyone could feel the formless power of that old man. The pressure caused their Xian Qi to stagnate and their divine souls to tremble. At this moment, even some elders seemed to be unable to recognize that grayish-white-haired old man. It's him. The Moon Saint has asked him to come out of seclusion. However, at this moment, Patriarch Star Soul's lips curled into a bitter smile. When this old man's figure appeared, a few of the elders of the school of Yin Yang could not help but be shocked. Then, they all smiled and said, "It seems that Du Xiaofu does not have any chance of winning." "It's you, Brett. You destroyed Qin Tian's momentum and destroyed Li Chenfa. Now, you want to marry someone from my school of Yin Yang?" When the old man appeared, he did not pay any attention to the people around him. His voice was low and deep, as if he had not spoken for a very long time. That low and deep voice had a terrifying, penetrating power that could make one's mind buzz when they heard it. Boom! When his voice fell, the old man's figure directly landed on the Yin-Yang balcony. Immediately, the space trembled. Yin and Yang Qi rushed out from the surroundings and formed a solidified space. The aura was extremely terrifying. However, when Qi Yeshi heard the old man's words, a slight blush quietly crept onto her face. However, the expression on her beautiful face became even more solemn under the old man's terrifying aura. "Greetings, Senior." Du Xiaofu cupped his fists together and bowed. He had been secretly sizing up the old man in front of him. Under the formless aura fluctuations, Du Xiaofu secretly did not dare to be careless. Du Xiaofu also felt a sense of danger from the old man from the school of Yin Yang. This was definitely a terrifying expert. "There's no need for formalities. I've heard that you are extraordinary. You are a Nirvana stage expert and have long been invincible among your generation. I won't be bullying you if I don't move my hands or legs." The old man raised his eyebrows. His plain robes rippled. When his deep voice sounded, his expression darkened and he immediately stomped his foot on the Yin-Yang balcony. Boom! When the old man's foot landed, the Yin-Yang balcony suddenly trembled. An invisible energy immediately swept towards Du Xiaofu. This energy was very strange. It seemed to be related to Yin and Yang, but it was also not Yin and Yang. The invisible energy completely swept out along the ground of the stone platform. There did not seem to be much fluctuation, but at this moment, only Du Xiaofu himself knew how terrifying this energy was. In just an instant, Du Xiaofu's expression had already changed. However, at the same time, Du Xiaofu's clear eyes slightly darkened. A golden light flashed on the soles of his feet, and he also fiercely stomped on the ground in front of him. Boom! Suddenly, an incomparably domineering aura emanated from Du Xiaofu's purple-robed figure. It was as if a peerless, ferocious bird had suddenly awakened from its slumber. As Du Xiaofu stomped his foot, the Yin-Yang platform suddenly trembled. A golden light talisman rune swept out from the ground like a wave and suddenly collided with the formless energy from the former's foot. The two energies suddenly collided. Boom! When the two energies collided, the entire Yin-Yang balcony directly rumbled. The vast square in the surroundings immediately rumbled as if the earth was shaking. The figures of the Yin-Yang sect's disciples swayed, and their expressions changed drastically. The mountains in the distance were also trembling. The expressions of the Yin-Yang sect's elders and protectors changed instantly. They could feel the collision of the energies the most. The space on the ground was like an earthquake, and under the ground, there seemed to be a powerful energy crashing into the ground. Crack, crack! In just an instant, the rock-like yin-yang balcony cracked. The gray-haired old man and Du Xiaofu both took 3 steps back at the same time. With each step, the yin-yang balcony under their feet would directly crack, and then the surroundings would turn into dust. Thump, thump, thump. After 3 steps, the two of them stomped their feet on the ground and stabilized their bodies at the same time. Walala, an invisible gust of wind blew across the yin-yang platform. 100 meters in front of the two of them, the yin-yang platform's space was blown into the air, and a 100-meter-deep pit was revealed. The terrifying energy impact shattered the rock-like yin-yang balcony, but not a single bit of energy leaked out. So powerful! There was no lack of people present who had sharp eyes. When the two of them exchanged blows, their control of Xian Qi had already reached an absolutely terrifying level. It was obvious when an expert made a move, so many experts were amazed. At the same time, on the mountain peak, Patriarch Xing Hun, Qi Mingxian, and many of the yin-yang sect's elders were even more shocked. Divine light surged out of their eyes, and they immediately looked at Du Xiaofu in shock. Just now, Du Xiaofu didn't even make a move. With just the strength of a kick, he blocked the former. This wasn't something that an ordinary person could do. At this moment, the gray-haired old man stabilized his body and couldn't help but let out a soft cry of surprise. His old face was filled with uncontrollable shock as he looked at Du Xiaofu and said, "The aura of the golden-winged great rocks." Chapter 1857. A Nirvana Sovereign. At this moment, Du Xiaofu's expression was also slightly surprised. Du Xiaofu could sense the aura of a Nirvana Sovereign from the old man's aura. This old man from the yin-yang school was a Nirvana Sovereign. However, Du Xiaofu could not tell if he was a greater Nirvana Sovereign or a lesser Nirvana Sovereign. Interesting. You have indeed cultivated the cultivation method of the great golden-winged Pengbird clan. After recovering from his shock, the gray-haired old man's expression returned to normal. He smiled faintly and an invisible force spread across the land. It was difficult to detect, but it quietly suppressed the surrounding space. A terrifying aura spread across the space, causing the legs of the disciples of the yin-yang school to go weak. This kind of pressure was very special. It was related to the yin-yang qi, but also not the yin-yang qi. "Senior, please," Du Xiaofu smiled faintly. With a shake of his purple robes, a faint golden light surged from the surface of his body. As this golden light spread, an undetectable aura spread out. This was the Imperial Palace's Dragon Qi. Under its influence, Du Xiaofu was immediately no longer affected by the invisible force from the old man. Or rather, this suppression was already within the range that he could resist. Seeing Du Xiaofu's relaxed expression, the gray-haired old man's expression changed again. He was a little surprised that the young man in front of him could deal with him so easily. It should be known that the profound of earth that he cultivated came from the yin-yang school of yin-yang. It was unique and only he had successfully cultivated it in the entire yin-yang school of yin-yang. He had been in seclusion for nearly 1,000 years to achieve some success. Although he was surprised, the old man did not stop for long. He had already heard of this young man's background. His deep eyes rippled. As his hand seals changed, a yellow light flashed under his feet and he immediately leapt forward. "Kid, show me your full strength. I am 7-star Break. I will not show any mercy." As 7-star Break leapt forward, runes immediately flashed in the air. His figure left behind a series of afterimages. A strange energy quietly gathered in the air. Everywhere it passed, the space suddenly froze and distorted. 7-star Break, he is. However, at that moment, when the old man announced his name, the gazes of Qi Yeshi, Qi Jejun, many of the old people on the square around the yin-yang balcony, Zhou Wenan, and a few other disciples from the school of yin-yang trembled violently, and their bodies trembled involuntarily. 7-star Break was a legendary figure in the yin-yang school. Even within the school, he was a legend. The 7-star Break was a supreme genius from the yin-yang school who had been famous for almost 1,000 years. He was a supreme nirvana and was once unrivaled among his peers. He had left behind a glorious legacy 1,000 years ago, but no one had ever seen him before. There were rumors that this supreme being had fallen outside, or that he had gone mad during his cultivation. Only at this moment did everyone find out that this supreme being, Qi Xingpe, hadn't died, nor had he suffered from qi deviation. He had only been in closed-door cultivation all this time. Today, in the battle against the demon king Du Xiaofu, this supreme of the Yin-Yang school from 1,000 years ago had actually appeared. Its granduncle Qi Xingpe. Qi Yeshi frowned with a grave expression. She had also heard of the legend left behind by this supreme being from the Yin-Yang school from 1,000 years ago. He was her granduncle, an absolute martial arts fanatic, and was once unrivaled among his peers in the world. Qi. In just a short moment, within the frozen space on the Yin-Yang balcony, 7 Starbreak's figure appeared in front of Du Xiaofu like lightning. He shook his arm, and mysterious talismans soared into the sky. A fist suddenly rushed out and directly blasted towards Du Xiaofu. Everything happened very quickly. 7 Starbreak's fist swept over, and the talismans erupted with a strange power. The space suddenly shrank and collapsed. Qi. At the same time, a golden light spread out in front of Du Xiaofu. The light erupted from the soles of his feet as he stepped out with the carefree ripple step. 7 Starbreak's fist shattered the space, and a pitch-black light flashed in front of his fist. Under many stunned gazes, the fist shattered Du Xiaofu's figure. However, under this fist, Du Xiaofu's shattered figure didn't spill any blood. Instead, 7 Starbreak's expression changed greatly, and he suddenly turned around. Qi. In a flash, Du Xiaofu's figure had unknowingly appeared in front of 7 Starbreak, who had turned around. His eyes shot out golden light, and his aura was like an erupting volcano, suddenly overbearing and looking down on all living things. Roar! Qi! With a shake of his arm, Du Xiaofu blasted out a fist as fast as lightning and as powerful as thunder. Accompanied by the roar of dragons and the roar of elephants, in the rumbling of the void, lightning flashed and thunder suddenly appeared, and it directly blasted towards 7 Starbreak. So fast! 7 Starbreak was surprised. He quickly poured out his Xian Qi, and the mysterious runes on his talismans fluctuated. He immediately raised his fist and blasted out. In front of this fist, there was a strange energy that suddenly surged out, and the surrounding Yin and Yang Qi instantly turned into a whirlpool in front of his fist. There was a majestic and vast Qi spreading out, and the fist broke the space. Pung pung pung. The two fists collided, and starting from the front of the two, the void exploded as if the sky was collapsing. The rock-solid ground of the Yin balcony below began to crack, and the rocks collapsed. The terrifying energy of the talisman ripples was like a tsunami, suddenly sweeping out in the void. The invisible and overbearing aura shook the space, and the space rippled endlessly, as if thunder was unceasingly roaring between heaven and earth. At this moment, countless gazes were all filled with fear. The void around the Yin balcony had already been strengthened. Even if the Yin balcony was exploding, the energy didn't leak out. Otherwise, with such an impact force, who would be qualified to be affected by it? Qila, 7 Starbreak was forced back, and he staggered back on the cracked ground. He only stabilized his body after a dozen steps. The terrifying wind raised his white robe, and his gray-white hair danced wildly. His face was serious, and the fluctuations couldn't be seen clearly. However, on the fist that he had just punched out, there were drops of bright red blood dripping down, emitting a bright light. Whose blood is that? On the mountain peak, the group of elders also tensed up. Was the blood on 7 Starbreak's fist his own, or the demon king Du Xiaofu's? Dust filled the sky, obscuring their vision. There was a golden light overflowing, and then, under everyone's gaze, Du Xiaofu's figure appeared. His expression was calm, and his long black hair was slightly scattered on his shoulders. Swish swish, everyone's gaze immediately landed on Du Xiaofu's fist. There was no trace of blood. It's not Du Xiaofu's blood. Everyone was astonished. Everyone's eyes were trembling. In a single exchange of fists, the yin-yang expert had already been injured. His physical body is too abnormal. Granduncle shouldn't have fought that guy head-on in terms of physical strength. Qi Jejun sighed. He was very clear about Du Xiaofu's abnormal physical strength. Fighting that guy head-on was simply asking for a beating. That guy's physical body is too strong. It seems to be even stronger than a real golden-winged rock's body. His speed is also inconceivably fast. Some of the Yin-Yang elders spoke. They couldn't help but feel shocked. That kind of physical body was truly abnormal. On the cracked Yin-Yang platform, 7-Star Break clenched his fist. He felt a bit numb, and his calm face twitched. 7-Star Break was the most clear about how terrifying the former's fist was. He had fought against the Golden-Winged Rock Race's experts before, and the Golden-Winged Rock Race's physical body wasn't as abnormal. "Senior, you let me win." Du Xiaofu cupped his fists and bowed. He looked at 7-Star Break and smiled faintly. "You let me win? What do you mean you let me win? Did I lose?" 7-Star Break glared at Du Xiaofu, his eyes bulging. He had been in seclusion all this time, and had originally been rather disdainful of the Moon Saint's arrangement to deal with a junior. However, 7-Star Break had never imagined that, strictly speaking, a single move would cause him to suffer such a huge loss. This was a loss of face for him. Senior's strength is tyrannical and profound. Let's stop here. Consider this junior's loss. Du Xiaofu's eyes flashed with a hint of a smile. The entire place fell silent as they looked at each other. On the broken balcony, Qi Xingpo was fuming with rage. How could he not hear that the brat in front of him was being courteous and courteous, but the meaning behind his words was that he should stop after a certain point. In any case, Qi Xingpo wasn't his match, so it was fine if he won. This kid is really arrogant. On the distant mountain peak, some of the Yin-Yang elders and protectors were secretly twitching their eyes. Du Xiaofu clearly didn't care about 7-Star Break at all. "He's purposely provoking Granduncle." Qi Yeshi muttered to herself as she stood on the mountain peak. She looked at the purple-robed man from afar, and her red lips could only curve into a bitter smile. "Kid, it's not over yet. Show me your true strength." Qi Xingpa said in a deep voice. The aura around his body rushed out again, like an exploding volcano, with the sound of wind and thunder whistling. A terrifying aura soared into the sky. His eyes also surged with starlight in an instant, as if they had turned into 2 stars. As Qi Xingpo's eyes seemed to transform into 2 stars, a profound energy storm accompanied by mysterious runes instantly erupted with him as the center. Rumble! Lightning flashed and thunder roared in the sky. The sky suddenly darkened, and a river of stars appeared. The earth rumbled, and the rumbling sound made one's soul tremble. Such a terrifying aura stunned the surrounding Yin-Yang disciples. This terrifying aura was vast and majestic, and it was like an earthquake. The surrounding square was trembling, and cracks the size of an arm appeared. Du Xiaofu stood on the dark balcony, allowing the terrifying profound energy storm to sweep over him. His body was like a boulder, and his purple robe and black hair fluttered in the wind. His eyes were fixed on 7-Star Break, and his eyes rippled. A Nirvana sovereign. Has he reached the state of immortality? Du Xiaofu's eyes narrowed as he sensed the frightening aura around him. The aura that contained the essence of stars and another energy related to Yin and Yang had been fused together by the 7-Star Break. Such talent was enough to prove how frightening the 7-Star Break elder was. Moreover, he was a Nirvana stage practitioner. In addition, the terrifying aura around him crushed the void. Du Xiaofu also felt an aura that surpassed the Nirvana realm. This senior Qi Xingpa before him ought to have already stepped foot into the level of Nirvana realm. Chapter 1858. Huff. Taking a deep breath, Du Xiaofu's eyes rippled with golden light. Mysterious runes flickered, as if 2 golden-winged great rocks were about to emerge. Boom! Space trembled. At the same time, a terrifyingly domineering aura gushed out from Du Xiaofu's body. At this moment, Du Xiaofu's reincarnation Nirvana stage aura was not held back at all. It was incomparably vigorous, and actually did not lose out to 7-Star per at all. A loud and heroic shout rang out. Senior's indestructible Nirvana stage, Junior's reincarnation Nirvana stage will seek guidance from you. Boom. In the space around the trembling Yin balcony, 7-Star pose figures suddenly expanded as Du Xiaofu's voice sounded. Upon closer inspection, it was possible to see densely packed mysterious runes climbing up Seven-Star Po's body, emitting dazzling starlight. In the end, it was as if Seven-Star Po's entire body was wrapped by a star. His aura distorted the sky, causing spatial ripples to spread out. The mountain peak in the distance shook as if it was on the verge of collapse. Within the light, his eyes were like two stars, incomparably terrifying. When such a terrifying scene appeared, the disciples of the school of Yin Yang felt a lingering pressure that came from their bloodlines and souls. They couldn't help but tremble and go weak in the knees. Some of the weaker ones had already collapsed on the ground, their faces deathly pale. Star Martial Vein. On the mountain peak in the distance, the expressions of the Yin Yang elders and protectors changed in shock. That terrifying aura had affected them even from a distance. Granduncle has been provoked by that fellow and used his Star Martial Vein. Looking at the Yin balcony, Qi Jiejun's expression hardened slightly. He smiled bitterly, but his expression was also filled with anticipation. Would the Demon King, Du Xiaofu, still be as ferocious and domineering as before when he met the peerless supreme genius of the Yin Yang school from 1,000 years ago? Qi Mingxian, Qi Yeshi and ancestor Xing Hun all looked forward with serious expressions, unable to take their eyes off the battle. Little guy, show me your true strength. The sound of the 7 stars break came out from the huge light. The light covered the sky, as if a star giant was walking over. The enormous light contained a monstrous power, causing the void to distort, the ground to collapse, and the mountain rocks to crack. There's no way to fight back. The surrounding Yin Yang disciples trembled and involuntarily backed away. The pressure and fear that came from the depths of their bloodlines and souls made them tremble incessantly. Their souls trembled, and they wanted to bow down and worship him. This pressure was too terrifying. As the 7-star breaker approached Du Xiaofu, the void rumbled. Even the darkness in the sky was illuminated by the light, and the light was dazzling. Senior, I'm afraid that you won't be able to withstand my true strength. His opponent was a true expert, a paragon of the older generation from the school of Yin Yang. Du Xiaofu's heroic spirit soared to the clouds, and he no longer acted courteously. Golden light soared into the sky. Du Xiaofu's aura was incomparably domineering. He wanted to fight against an undying Nirvana realm expert. This was a rare opportunity to prove himself. Awoo! At this moment, under the invisible pressure of the great golden-winged rock race, the demonic beasts of the school of Yin Yang roared and trembled in fear. The surrounding Yin Yang disciples were also frightened. Good boy, you're arrogant enough. Let's see if you have the strength to be so arrogant. The voice of the 7-star breaker came out from the light. It was old and deep, but it also contained the domineering and arrogant aura of a paragon. Yin and Yang, the 5 elements of heaven and earth, the boundless earth, heaven and earth overturn. The 7-star breaker shouted, and the starlight released a terrifying yellow light. The earth trembled, and cracks appeared in the void. The divine light surged like raging waves. Whoosh! In the end, streaks of yellow light shrouded the entire void, including Du Xiaofu, like a bolt of lightning. Within this yellow light, Du Xiaofu suddenly felt like he was in a heavy world. It was as if he was in a quagmire, and it was difficult for him to move. In this yellow world, there was a divine power that suppressed Du Xiaofu's physical body, and it could also affect Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit. Immeasurable stars, star punishment. The sound of the 7 stars break rang out once more. Within the dazzling light, there were starlight talisman runes interweaving with each other. It was as if a river of stars had appeared in the yellow world, and a rain of starlight was falling down, crushing the world and covering the surrounding void. It was as if Du Xiaofu would explode under the pressure. Bang, bang, bang. Above the void, the heavens collapsed and the earth cracked. There were continuous explosions. This scene was too terrifying. The Yin Yang disciples who were constantly retreating felt their hearts tremble as they watched. This is the combination of the Star Martial Vein and the profound of earth formed by the Yin and Yang Qi. This kind of power can suppress anyone below the sage realm. On the mountain peak, old ancestor Xing Hun sighed softly. His aged face was filled with emotions. He was deeply shocked. Although Qi Xingpe was his junior, Qi Xingpe's current strength had long surpassed him. All the elders and protectors of the Yinyang school, and even supremacy Qi Mingxian, were holding their breaths as they waited. What would the outcome of the Yinyang school's older generation supreme genius facing off against the Demon King, Du Xiaofu? At this moment, 7-star Breaker's terrifying strength could suppress anyone below the Sage realm. He should be able to suppress the Demon King, right? He will definitely be able to withstand it. At this moment, Qi Yeshi looked forward, and his eyes were filled with conviction. This was his understanding of Yi Shiwen, and also a kind of confidence in Yi Shiwen. In the void of the Yinyang balcony, all the power was terrifying, crushing everything in the void. Du Xiaofu stood, his purple robes fluttering in the wind. Golden light lingered around him, and within the light of the galaxy, there were shadows of stars falling. With him as the center, it set off his extraordinary and domineering figure. "Come on!" A shout rang out like thunder. Du Xiaofu moved. A tyrannical energy fluctuation emanated from his body, bringing with it purple-gold lightning arcs that undulated like an ocean. It was like a purple-gold rainbow that soared across the sky. Dazzling purple lightning runes surged in all directions. Rumble! In the blink of an eye, Du Xiaofu's golden body was also covered with purple lightning talisman patterns. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. Amidst the endless thunder, purple gold light burst out from the void and shot into the ancient firmament of the Yinyang school. It was as if the sun was about to rise in this ancient world. Crash! Everything happened very quickly, and in a short instant, the dazzling purple-gold electric arcs were boundless. A huge purple-gold golden-winged rock phantom appeared and enveloped Du Xiaofu's figure. The two seemed to merge into one, and it was as if Du Xiaofu had turned into a real golden-winged rock. An unparalleled power suddenly descended. Screech! The purple-gold thunder rock screeched, and the phantom spread its wings. Purple-gold electric arcs sparkled all over its body, and its ferocious aura spread out, causing the entire ancient world to tremble. When such a purple-gold thunder rock descended with such a terrifying power, the elders and experts of the Yinyang school on the mountain peak in the distance froze in shock. Fight! Fight! With a roar, the purple-gold thunder rock flapped its wings, and purple-gold electric arcs shot out from its eyes. It was as if two suns were shining in the sky, overlooking all life in the world. In the yellow world, it soared into the firmament and rushed into the galaxy. Its unparalleled power caused the entire space to tremble, and it shook everyone's soul. Rumble! The stars in the galaxy were shattering. The purple-gold thunder rock flapped its wings and flew across the void, shattering the stars one by one, and the explosion shook the world. At this moment, Du Xiaofu activated the golden-winged rock's divine ability and merged with the thunder martial vein. He no longer held back and used all his strength. Vigorous power surged in his body, and every move he made could explode the void and shatter the stars. It was incomparably carefree and domineering. Encountering an opponent like the Nirvana realm, Du Xiaofu was proving himself. This was a rare opportunity, and he could even have a chance to peek into the mysteries of the Nirvana realm. Break! Du Xiaofu became more and more courageous as he fought. From time to time, he would roar loudly. From the huge purple-gold thunder rock phantom, there was a supreme aura that filled the air, suppressing heaven and earth. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled in the surrounding void, and purple lightning burst out. This was the power of the thunder martial vein. It swept across the sky and could not be provoked, and it could kill the world. Thunder martial vein. On the mountain peak, Qi Mingshuan's face turned serious. Above the sky, there was also an obscure fluctuation. It seemed to be rippling and then it disappeared. Rumble! Rumble! The purple-gold lightning fell, and lightning flashed and thunder rumbled in the space. The purple-gold thunder rock soared into the sky, flapping its wings and sweeping across the sky. It was domineering and fierce, and it was the only sovereign. Such a collision sounded like thunder in the sky, and a series of bright runes burst out like fireworks, causing the entire sky to be dazzling. Behind this dazzling light, the energy contained was destruction. The surrounding space of the ancient world trembled, and pitch-black spatial cracks appeared everywhere. Finally, the galaxy was shattered by the purple-gold thunder rock. In the next moment, the purple-gold thunder rock phantom dissipated, and Du Xiaofu's figure walked out of the huge purple-gold thunder rock. Under everyone's dull eyes, Du Xiaofu's hand seals changed rapidly, and the afterimages changed. A golden light rushed into the sky again, and in an instant, there were 9 giant dragon phantoms condensed. Ao, 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 ao. The 9 giant dragon phantoms roared, and the dragon roared into the 9 heavens. Wild Dragon 9th Heaven, borrow the power of the Qian Dragon. Boom! When the 9 dragon phantoms appeared, Du Xiaofu's purple-gold eyes emitted 2 rays of light, like 2 golden thunderbolts shooting into the sky. In an instant, the 9 giant dragon phantoms also turned into 9 energy ribbons, and like lightning, they fell into Du Xiaofu's body. Boom! Boom! As the 9 giant dragon phantoms swept in, the aura on Du Xiaofu's body soared like a rocket. This was the cultivation technique of the Hehuan school. At this moment, Du Xiaofu was finally able to push the wild dragon 9th heaven to the limit after reincarnation. However, to push the wild dragon 9th heaven to the limit, this kind of aura did not soar too much for Du Xiaofu's current cultivation level, but it was already a huge benefit. Break for me! Without any delay, a smile appeared on Du Xiaofu's resolute face, and purple-gold lightning shot out from his eyes like 2 purple-gold suns. The execution swept across the sky, and as his aura soared, he moved his arms. Chapter 1859. Boom! As Du Xiaofu waved his arm, purple-gold lightning gathered to form a purple-gold lightning bolt. Like a stormy sea, it smashed into the yellow world. The aura of the executioner caused the space to rumble. Rumble! The heavens collapsed and the earth cracked. The universe reached its peak, and a phenomenon appeared in the sky. Then, the yellow world was finally destroyed by such a terrifying might. It crumbled inch by inch. Dang dang! The energy dissipated, and the runes cracked. Amidst the crumbling void, the yellow world shattered. Qi Xingpo's body could be seen retreating in a straight line. Wherever his feet passed, the ground cracked and shattered. Boom! Qi Xingpo's body retreated dozens of feet. His hair was messy, his gray robe fluttered, and there were traces of blood at the corner of his mouth. His eyes were like stars as he stomped his right foot on the ground. Under his foot, a crack of several feet wide appeared. His body, which was retreating, suddenly leaped into the air. With a tap of his foot, he rose into the air once again. I didn't expect the combination of the golden rock and the lightning martial vein to be so powerful. Brat, you're really extraordinary. When such a deep voice came out from Qi Xingpo's mouth, as his body rose into the air, a new aura swept out without holding back. At this moment, starlight once again filled the sky and filled the void. The sound of wind and thunder resounded and filled the void in all directions. He's going to use his full strength. Boom! The purple-gold lightning in Du Xiaofu's eyes fluctuated. This Qi Xingpo was definitely not ordinary. His aura was even more terrifying than Qin Tian's. Boom! Boom! In an instant, Qi Xingpo, who rose into the air once again, had divine light flickering on his body like flames. Above his forehead, 6 rings of divine light appeared, like a divine ring. A vast aura spread out, as if a sovereign was suppressing all living things. Lesser Sovereign Nirvana. Du Xiaofu narrowed his eyes. Qi Xingpo was a lesser Sovereign Nirvana. Brat, show me your final strength. Qi Xingpo shouted. He was already using his full strength. At this moment, the divine ring on his body was like the sun, shining continuously. His entire body was blazing. The blazing light also contained a terrifying might. It was incredibly vast and heavy, and it shook the entire ancient world of the school of Yinyang. In just a short period of time, the ordinary-looking old man had truly descended like a supreme being, suppressing the world with his might. So strong, this is Xingpo's strongest strength. On the mountain peak, The expressions of the yin-yang school's elders changed, their expressions changing. This type of power was too terrifying, possessing a type of pressure that was difficult to resist. It's just the nirvana of a lesser sovereign. Senior, please use the full power of your indestructibility. Junior wishes to have a peek. I am eternally grateful. Du Xiaofu spoke. When he fought against the 7-star breaker, he could feel traces of the indestructibility. This brat is really arrogant. An elder on the mountain peak spoke, his eyes twitching. The 7 stars break had already used the power of a supreme being, yet that demon king Du Xiaofu actually didn't care too much about it. He actually still wanted to use the 7 stars break to feed the attack, and use it to pry into the level of undying and imperishable. He simply didn't put the 7-star break in his eyes and only treated it as a training target. Granduncle Xing seems to be injured. Qi Jiajun spoke. He had long seen the faint bloodstain hanging on the corner of the 7 stars break's mouth, which was caused by Du Xiaofu. Brat, as you wish. The 7 stars break in the sky, the light around his body surged, as if a sun had enveloped this world. Under the terrifying might, the light drowned the earth, and a strange phenomenon appeared, causing the void to crack, shocking the entire yin-yang school. The power of a supreme being, Du Xiaofu murmured softly. At the same time, the purple-golden light in his eyes surged, and the ancient runes around his body jumped and rose like raging flames. These ancient runes changed, connecting with each other in a strange arc, distorting the void. Stars piercing sun. The 7 stars break shouted again. He didn't want to delay. The 6 divine rings fluctuated, and the aura caused the void to tremble. An invisible force soared into the sky, and a river of stars appeared in the void. The stars rotated, and the river of stars appeared, enveloping Du Xiaofu. This was the full power of the 7 stars break, the power of a supreme being, the martial veins of the stars, and the profound of the stars, as well as the qi of yin and yang. Under the terrifying power, a strange phenomenon appeared, and the entire yin-yang school's ancient heaven and earth trembled. Countless stars were connected, densely covering the void, and then crushing Du Xiaofu. Oh my God! Under such power, the yin-yang school's disciples around the yin-yang school's balcony had already gone weak in the legs and collapsed to the ground. The elders and protectors on the distant mountain peak also began to tremble, unable to resist such a terrifying power. It was also at this time that the light around Du Xiaofu finally turned into a divine ring. This divine ring was especially bright and dazzling, erupting with brilliant light like the rising sun, but it wasn't violent and domineering. When the divine ring appeared, a vast amount of heaven's might spread out. This heavenly power wasn't as great as the nirvana of a minor supreme being or a grand supreme being, and it wasn't as great as the nirvana of a perfected grand supreme being. This heavenly power spread out in the void, and although it didn't make much noise, it invisibly made the trembling yin-yang school's disciples hesitate, as if it could still protect them and prevent them from being affected by the 7 stars break supreme's power. At this moment, Du Xiaofu was in the sky, and the divine rings were in the sky, filled with divine light and a kind of sacred radiance. At this moment, Du Xiaofu was enveloped by a divine ring, and it blended with it. It was transcendent, and it was sacred and inviolable. The surging aura from Du Xiaofu's body was like a waterfall, surging and boiling, making people want to bow down and worship him. From afar, Du Xiaofu was the only one in the void, and it was incomparably dazzling, giving people the feeling that the heaven and earth had just been created, and all things were just born. Rumble. Rumble, but invisibly, wind and thunder resounded in the ancient land of the yin-yang school, and the earth was rumbling, sweeping up the sky and earth, and the void was fluctuating. Rumble. The 7 stars break pressed down in front of him, and the stars appeared and covered the void, as if the gods were attacking and sending down heavenly punishment. This kind of power was also terrifying, and it imprisoned the void. Only the starry shadows in the sky emitted dazzling light. This was shocking and terrifying. Not to mention a person being suppressed and imprisoned, even if a great sect was swept by this kind of terrifying attack, they would be suppressed into ashes and nothingness, and it was enough to destroy everything. But there was an exception, and that was Du Xiaofu, who was like a god at this moment. His figure appeared in the void, and he looked at the terrifying starry shadows descending, and muttered softly, "Stars profound." When he finished speaking, Du Xiaofu suddenly stretched out his hand and said a word softly, "Freeze." When this word spread out like the sound of the heavens, with Du Xiaofu as the center, the surrounding void was suddenly imprisoned, and the terrifying starry shadows that were rotating suddenly stopped in front of Du Xiaofu. At this moment, the countless gazes in the surroundings were dead silent. Countless gazes were also dumbfounded at this moment. Countless people's hair stood on end, and a feeling of fear and trepidation surged out from the depths of their hearts. Chapter 1860. At this moment, Qi Xingpo was also dumbfounded. He had never imagined that his strongest attack, which was formed by the fusion of several profound meanings with supreme power, would be stopped by the former. Du Xiaofu stretched out his hand, his fingers curling slightly. His surroundings froze. Waves of profound energy, accompanied by a special starlight rune, spread out from his hand. The aura in the sky surged, almost distorting the space. In the end, they intertwined with each other. In an instant, under the shocked gazes of everyone, they condensed into a handprint that was several feet in size. The moment the handprint appeared, the surrounding space trembled. Waves of mystical aura spread out from Du Xiaofu's body. At this moment, the eyes of all the Yinyang school members were filled with indescribable shock. Brilliant star seal. When Du Xiaofu's thunderous voice rang out, he shook his arm and the handprint instantly shot out. Brilliant talisman runes surged out, as if countless stars were releasing their light, bringing with them a vast aura that covered the sky and covered the earth. This handprint swallowed light, and the surrounding world suddenly fell into the curtain of night. The violent energy affected the space and swallowed light. It was as if an endless starry sky had descended, piercing through time and space. The pressure was unparalleled, suppressing the sky. At this moment, the starry sky spun, and the sky exploded. The void crumbled inch by inch. The explosion was like thunder, lightning flashed, thunder rumbled, and runes surged. Gulp gulp. Everyone gulped, their hair standing on end. Rumble. In the surrounding area of the Yin balcony, several support runes were on the verge of collapse. The runes shattered, and the great array was shaken, cracking under the impact. Crack crack. The vast ground of the square cracked continuously, cracks as thick as an arm spreading out like a spider web. In the sky, Qi Xingpo's figure flew backward, spitting out blood. "Senior, sorry for the offense." When such a voice rang out, golden light shone brightly. A golden figure suddenly appeared in front of Qi Xingpo, who was flying backward. There was a golden radiance shooting out, and a pair of golden-winged pring wings appeared in the sky. At this moment, Du Xiaofu's silhouette appeared, activating the golden wings of the great rock. With a flap of the wings, his aura towered up into the sky, as if he was a part of the heavens, connecting with his flesh, blood, tendons, and bones. A terrifying aura surged out, causing even space to tremble. Shaoyang seal. Stormy waves palm. Shaoyin seal. Lunar seal. Sky-shaking wings. In an instant, Du Xiaofu seemed to have transformed into a real golden-winged great peng as he soared into the sky. Under the flabbergasted gazes of everyone present, a series of attacks landed on Seven Starbreak's body like a torrential downpour. Bang bang bang. The speed was too fast, so fast that all the experts could only see a blur. They could only hear low muffled sounds continuously. Chila. Then, the light around Seven Starbreak's figure dimmed and he was blasted into the sky like lightning. In the end, he smashed into the first mountain outside the plaza. Rumble. Mountains crumbled and the earth cracked. The first mountain peak collapsed and the second mountain peak was destroyed. Wherever Seven Starbreak's figure passed, countless mountains were directly destroyed. That kind of terrifying impact was a visual impact that only those who saw it with their own eyes would feel. Too savage. The entire place was dead silent, dumbstruck. The group of Yin-Yang experts, elders, and protectors on the distant mountain peak were all staring with their eyes wide open. Huge rocks rolled down, gravel piled up, and dust filled the sky. Seven-Star Break's figure rushed out in a sorry state, his clothes tattered. Pucci, at the same time, Qixingpo's hair was disheveled, and the protective armor he had put on at some point in time was cracked beyond recognition. It was dim and had lost its luster, and blood was seeping out of his body. All of this made Seven-Star Break look like a fish with half of its scales pulled out. He was in an extremely sorry state. Du Xiaofu floated in the air, the golden wings of the great Peng spread out behind him. His entire body was intact, and his aura was domineering and disdainful. It seemed that the more he fought, the braver he became. Seven-Star Break looked at Du Xiaofu from afar. That tall and domineering figure made his eyes twitch at this moment. "Senior, thank you for letting me win." Du Xiaofu cupped his fists and put away the golden wings of the great Peng behind him. The purple robe on his back was a little tattered, but it didn't affect his aura at all. Each new generation excels the previous one. This old man has lost, and that's that. Good lad. Seven-Star Break said, then turned around and flew into the sky. Pucci. Just as he flew into the distance, no one saw Seven-Star Break finally spit out a mouthful of blood. He cursed softly, "This lad is too ruthless." Seven-Star Break left, but the entire place was still silent and dazed. Everyone knew that Seven-Star Break had been defeated, and he had lost miserably. So cool. A moment later, the eyes of the young women from the school of Yin-Yang lit up. They looked at the tall and skinny figure in the air, which contained terrifying energy. Gulp, countless people swallowed their saliva. To the disciples of the Yin-Yang school, one of their supreme patriarchs had been defeated. The Demon King Du Xiaofu had already surpassed his peers by too much. The Demon King Du Xiaofu just used seems to be the glorious star seal of our Yin-Yang school. The patriarch lost to it. How does he know the glorious star seal of our Yin-Yang school? It's too terrifying. How did he cultivate it? Whispers broke out all around, and everyone's eyes were filled with shock. It was impossible not to be shocked by such a figure floating in the air. This was especially true for the peers of the Yin-Yang school. They were originally arrogant, and as disciples of the Yin-Yang school, they were born with a sense of superiority and arrogance. They didn't take outsiders seriously, but when they faced that purple-robed figure, they felt as if they were facing a towering mountain that they couldn't cross at all. They didn't even have the courage to climb. He won. On the mountain peak, the Yin-Yang powerhouses, elders, and protectors had recovered from their shock, but they were still in disbelief. With their sharp eyes, how could they not see that although Du Xiaofu had used his full strength to defeat Seven-Star Break, it wasn't to the extent of going all out. The difference between the Nirvana reincarnation level and the eternal Nirvana level was like the difference between heaven and earth. However, Du Xiaofu's Nirvana level had defeated the Yin-Yang school's eternal Nirvana level, which was already shocking enough. However, Du Xiaofu hadn't really gone all out. This made the entire Yin-Yang school powerhouses feel that he was unfathomable. This kid defeated Seven-Star Break with the glorious star seal. He has left some face for the Yin-Yang school. Patriarch Star Soul smiled bitterly. He wasn't too surprised by this outcome, but he was deeply shocked. After all, Patriarch Star Soul had seen the battle between Du Xiaofu and Moksha with his own eyes. How terrifying was that? However, Patriarch Star Soul hadn't expected that Du Xiaofu would defeat Seven-Star Break so easily. Du Xiaofu had used the Yin-Yang school's glorious star seal to break Seven-Star Break's full-strength attack. This was undoubtedly giving face to the Yin-Yang school. If this matter were to spread, Seven-Star Break would also be defeated by the Yin-Yang school's glorious star seal. At least, they would be able to regain some face. He won. On the mountain peak, Qi Yeshi's red lips were slightly pursed, and a smile appeared on her face. Her eyes rippled with spiritual light like stars. She tapped the ground with the tip of her foot, and her figure immediately swept forward. In the chaotic space, Du Xiaofu stared ahead. Over there, a familiar figure could be seen flying over. Very quickly, she arrived before him. That was a familiar face. Her hair fluttered in the wind, exuding a sense of holiness and majesty that was enough to shock the world. Chapter 1861. Looking at the familiar woman, Du Xiaofu smiled faintly and said, "I'm here." 2 strands of black hair fluttered gently in the wind. Her slender waist, which was wrapped in a long, light green dress, outlined a graceful curve. Qi Yishi stood quietly. Her beauty was not only in her appearance, but also in her temperament and bloodline. Compared to her, there was no lack of beautiful women from the school of Yin Yang in the square, but they would immediately pale in comparison. Qi Yishi looked at Du Xiaofu and smiled. She was like a real immortal who had descended to the mortal world, untainted by the mortal world. Her delicate red lips parted slightly as she said softly, "Let's go. Follow me to see my father." As soon as she finished speaking, Qi Yishi pulled Du Xiaofu's hand and placed it in her soft palm. Then, they flew to the mountain peak in the distance. "That's the sage nun. She's telling everyone. Only the Demon King and Du Xiaofu are worthy of our sage nun." Everyone was stunned and whispered to each other. Everyone knew that the sage nun was telling the entire school of Yin Yang that she had made her choice. "Greetings, Senior Xing Han." On the mountain peak, Du Xiaofu saw Patriarch Xing Han. His hand was in Qi Yeshi's palm, so he could only nod and greet him. "You're welcome." Patriarch Xing Han nodded and smiled. The shock in his eyes had yet to fade from his aged face. The group of elders and protectors looked at Du Xiaofu and Qi Yeshi, whose fingers were intertwined with Du Xiaofu's, and were inwardly moved. However, no one said anything at this moment. The shock and impact of this purple-robed young man had made these elders and experts of the school of Yin Yang unable to say anything. Qi Mingxuan's gaze also landed on Du Xiaofu. He looked at their intertwined hands with a very calm expression. "This is my father." Qi Yeshi let go of Du Xiaofu's hand and stood beside Du Xiaofu as she introduced her father. "Greetings, Supreme Lord." Du Xiaofu bowed, feeling a little nervous. Du Xiaofu had seen a lot of supremacies from the 9 clans. He had even seen the patriarch of the Phoenix clan. His adoptive father, Jialo Chengtong, was also the patriarch of the golden-winged Great Peng clan. None of them were inferior to this supremacy from the Yin Yang supremacy. As for Du Xiaofu's cultivation base, even the high lords of the 9 great clans might not necessarily be able to keep up with him. Therefore, Du Xiaofu's nervousness when facing Qi Mingxian was not because of his cultivation, but because the current supremacy of the Yin Yang school was Qi Yeshi's father, and could be said to be his future father-in-law. This nervousness was innate. "There's no need to be so courteous. You're young and extraordinary, and your reputation is well-deserved." Qi Mingxian nodded. As he gazed at the purple-robed man and his daughter, he could only smile bitterly to himself. "Truly formidable. Even Granduncle Xing Po was defeated by you." Qi Jiajun stepped forward and patted Du Xiaofu's shoulder with a smile. "Granduncle?" Du Xiaofu was stunned. "That's right. The one who fought with you was my granduncle." Qi Jiajun gazed at Du Xiaofu and deliberately said, "Blood granduncle." Du Xiaofu was immediately stunned. Qi Jiajun's blood granduncle was also Qi Yeshi's blood granduncle. Just now, he had not been too courteous. "I seem to have been a bit too heavy-handed." Du Xiaofu smiled bitterly in his heart. At the beginning, although he knew that the relationship between Qi Xingpa and Qi Yeshi was not simple, he did not expect that Senior Qi Xingpa would actually be Qi Yeshi's blood granduncle. If he had known earlier, he definitely would not have been so heavy-handed. After exchanging some pleasantries, the figures on the mountain peak left and moved to the main hall of the Yin Yang school. There was no lack of a banquet for the Yin Yang school. "Tomorrow morning, you and Yeshi will enter the Heavenly Stellar's secret realm together." After the banquet, under the puzzled gazes of Qi Yeshi and Qi Jiajun, Qi Mingxian summoned Du Xiaofu to the inner hall alone and said to Du Xiaofu, "Lord, what is the Heavenly Stellar's secret realm?" Du Xiaofu was puzzled and puzzled. "You went to the Phoenix clan, the Confucian school, the Taoist school, and now my Yin Yang school. You spent a lot of time in the Confucian school and the Taoist school. I don't think it's just to visit." Qi Mingxian looked at Du Xiaofu and said, "If I'm not wrong, one of your goals in the Confucian school and the Taoist school is probably related to comprehension. You didn't come to my Yinyang school just to visit and see Yeshi, right? Hearing this, Du Xiaofu's eyes fluctuated uncontrollably. This future father-in-law in front of him was definitely not ordinary. But then Du Xiaofu smiled bitterly. None of the lords of the 9 great clans were simple. The heavenly stellar secret realm is very mysterious. There haven't been many people from the Yinyang school who can enter the heavenly stellar secret realm since ancient times. Speaking of which, I don't have the authority to let you enter the heavenly stellar secret realm. It was arranged by an ancestor of the Yinyang school. I hope you can gain something inside. You can ask Yeshi about the specific situation, so I won't say more. Qi Mingxian looked at Du Xiaofu and said again, "Thank you, Lord." Du Xiaofu thanked him, but he was puzzled. Since he entered the Yinyang school until now, the Yinyang school seemed to be faintly mysterious to him. Mountains, courtyard, dusk. My father asked you to accompany me into the heavenly stellar secret realm? In front of the courtyard, at the side of the courtyard, Qi Yeshi's eyebrows curved as she looked at the sunset. Her eyes were bright and there was some doubt in them. What is the heavenly stellar secret realm? Du Xiaofu nodded and asked Qi Yeshi. The heavenly stellar secret realm is a mysterious place of the Yinyang school. It is said that it came from ancient times and has only been opened a few times since ancient times. Only outstanding juniors who cultivate the star ultimacy can enter it. It is said that there are stars that have fallen from outer space. Absorbing the star's purification can refine one's body, comprehend the ultimacy, and directly increase one's cultivation. Qi Yeshi told Du Xiaofu everything about the heavenly stellar secret realm without hiding anything. Du Xiaofu learned everything about the heavenly stellar secret realm from Qi Yeshi. The heavenly stellar secret realm was not a good place. It was full of dangers. Some of the disciples of the Yinyang school who had entered the heavenly stellar secret realm had died. However, if one could successfully come out of the heavenly stellar secret realm, they would break through the cocoon and become a butterfly. It was impossible for outsiders to enter. However, it is great that you can enter. It is just that there are many dangers inside. Cultivators of the domain realm don't even have the right to enter. Qi Yeshi looked at Du Xiaofu. The sunset poured down on her delicate face, making her look particularly charming. "I will take care of you." Du Xiaofu looked at the woman in front of him and said with a smile, "Who needs you to take care of me? I don't want to be a burden to you." Qi Yeshi rolled her eyes at Du Xiaofu. Then she looked forward and her eyes were blurred. She said softly, "I only hope that I can not be too far away from you. In the past, I was worried that you would come here. But now, I am afraid that one day, I will not be able to catch up with you." Chapter 1862. You're the saintess of the school of Yinyang. Du Xiaofu stepped forward and held the woman's hand. Qi Yeshi looked at the sunset and said in a low voice, "As a member of the school of Yinyang, compared to the people outside, the pressure is even greater. There is an inescapable responsibility. Strength naturally has a corresponding price." Du Xiaofu nodded silently. Sigh. Qi Yeshi sighed softly, then looked at Du Xiaofu and smiled. "Little Star, Little Qing, Little Yao, Little Tiger, and the others? They're all fine." Du Xiaofu didn't hide anything from Qi Yeshi and told her the general situation. It said that the great calamity of the world is coming, and the heavenly devil battlefield is about to open. We all have to increase our strength. Qi Yeshi raised her head slightly and looked at the sunset. There was an indescribable feeling in her eyes as she said softly, "Sister Mu Exen, Sister Shuang, Xingqing Muhan, and the others?" Du Xiaofu was stunned for a moment before he smiled bitterly to himself. In the divine domain, the woman before him had probably seen through everything. With the Yinyang school's ability and Qi Yeshi's status in the Yinyang school, she would probably know everything she wanted to know just by asking. "I don't want to hide it from you, Du Xiaofu said. "There's no need to say anything. I'm just asking if they're okay. There are some things that you don't need to tell me." Qi Yeshi turned around and smiled faintly. She seemed to want to laugh, but then she sighed softly and said, "But I can tell you that this is all." If there are more in the future, don't say that I won't give you a good time. I believe that they won't give you a good time either. I know. Du Xiaofu felt as if he had been pardoned from a great crime. He pulled the woman into his embrace. Even though he knew that Qi Yishi knew, he didn't know how to bring it up. Now that she had brought it up herself, he felt much more relaxed. Save it. Qi Yishi turned her body and took the opportunity to avoid Du Xiaofu's embrace. She glared at Du Xiaofu and said, "Rest here tonight. I have asked someone to prepare a room for you. Tomorrow morning, I will ask you to go to the Heavenly Star secret territory with me. That place is filled with danger, so you must be fully prepared." As soon as she finished speaking, the graceful figure had already entered the courtyard behind her, leaving behind Du Xiaofu with a bitter smile. Looking at the graceful figure, Du Xiaofu's figure flashed and followed behind. At night, the school of Yinyang wasn't quiet at all. It was still very lively, and everyone was still discussing the Demon King, Du Xiaofu. The battle on the Yinyang platform had completely shocked the school of Yinyang. At this moment, Du Xiaofu was meditating in his room. Today, he had used up a lot of energy in the battle with 7-Star Breaker. After knowing that the Heavenly Star secret territory was extremely dangerous, he didn't dare to be careless. He needed to be in his best condition. Golden light enveloped the room, and golden talismans rippled. A domineering aura spread out. Du Xiaofu sat cross-legged and meditated. The night passed by slowly. The next day, when the first ray of morning light shone on this ancient land, the vitality of this ancient land was awakened. Phew! The golden light rippled and entered his body like little golden snakes. Du Xiaofu exhaled a mouthful of turbid qi and opened his eyes. There was a dazzling golden light, but it was slowly withdrawn. Creak! After changing into a purple robe, Du Xiaofu opened the door. The familiar woman appeared in front of him, as well as a few women who looked like battle servants. "Have you rested enough? It's time to go." Qi Yishi walked up and gently smoothed out the wrinkles on Du Xiaofu's robes. She appeared gentle and obedient. This scene left the battle servants dumbfounded. If the disciples of the school of Yinyang saw this, they would probably be dumbfounded. The dignified saintess of the school of Yinyang was actually acting so gentle in front of this purple-robed man. "Let's go." Du Xiaofu nodded. Feeling the gentleness, his heart rippled. He took advantage of the situation and gently held her hand in his palm. Whoosh whoosh. After a while, 2 figures flew out of the courtyard and headed towards the depths of the mountain range. The vast mountain range was filled with spiritual qi. In a deep mountain valley, the light was getting dimmer and dimmer. A gloomy aura began to surge out. Those who weren't strong enough couldn't even get close. This is the influence of the Heavenly Star secret territory. The Heavenly Star secret territory is a place of great yin. It can absorb the yin qi of heaven and earth, Qi Yishi said to Du Xiaofu. What a gloomy place. Du Xiaofu looked around. He cultivated the domineering cultivation method of the golden-winged rock clan. At this moment, he also felt that the gloomy aura could affect the soul. "We're here." Qi Yishi landed in front of a foggy valley. The front was blurred and couldn't see anything. Is this the entrance to the Heavenly Star secret territory? Du Xiaofu looked forward. He didn't feel anything with his mind. Qi Yishi smiled and then bowed to the void. She said, "Junior Yishi asks the Moon Saint to open the Heavenly Star secret territory." Boom boom boom. When Qi Yishi finished speaking, the runes in the depths of the void burned brightly. There was a roaring sound that shook the surroundings. In the depths of the blurred space, there was suddenly a burst of light. It was as if a bright moon had risen in the sky. Boom! A space entrance opened. Runes danced in the air. It was as if there were countless stars shooting out. The light was dazzling and flowing, drowning the blurred space. The light covered everything. A terrifying aura rushed out. It probably couldn't affect anyone below the domain realm. "Let's go in. Be careful," Qi Yishi said. She took Du Xiaofu's hand and pushed off the ground with the tip of her foot. Whoosh whoosh. The 2 figures rushed into the space entrance like lightning. They were instantly drowned in the light and disappeared. Whoosh whoosh. the light disappeared. The surroundings were calm. They couldn't see anything. It was as if nothing had happened. I can't see what's behind him. I can't see what's in front of him. Where did he come from? Is the thunder martial vein really related to him? A faint voice came from the void. It seemed to have come from across time and space. When everything returned to normal, a graceful figure appeared in the void. This was a hazy woman. Her long skirt fluttered in the wind, and her entire body was suffused with a gentle light. Her face was beautiful and mysterious, and there were several hairpins in her bun. They were like spider webs, and they added a bit of strangeness and mystery to her. Whether you can get a fortune or not depends on yourself. Danger and fortune coexist. This is the will of the heavens. No one can help you. The mysterious woman looked in the direction where Qi Yeshi and Du Xiaofu had disappeared and murmured. Then, the hazy figure disappeared silently in the void. The surroundings were hazy. There were many towering mountains, accompanied by a gloomy aura. There was darkness everywhere. Chapter 1863. White bones could be seen everywhere. These huge skeletons belonged to huge demonic beasts. After countless years, they had become ordinary bones. However, this was not the strangest thing. The most shocking thing was that in the depths of the distant sky, light alternated between bright and dark. There was a falling star hanging in the void of the sky. Occasionally, when the light spread out, an astonishing phenomenon would occur. Just the sight of the falling star hanging in the sky was enough to shock anyone. However, although the star seemed to be hanging in the sky not far away, it was actually very far away. It also had a huge pressure, as if it was going to crush the space. What is that? Is there really a falling star? Looking at this scene, Du Xiaofu couldn't help but sigh. That is a star that fell from the sky in ancient times. It contains endless energy. If one absorbs and comprehends it, they can reach a higher level. Later on, this place was sealed by an ancestor of the school of Yin Yang. Not many people in the world know of its existence. It was obvious that this was Qi Yeshi's first time in this heavenly star secret realm. Looking at the strange phenomenon in the sky, she was also shocked. Whoosh whoosh. Then, the two of them flew toward the sky, moving carefully. Whoosh. Suddenly, Qi Yeshi stretched out her hand in midair. Yin and Yang Qi surged out, and a palm print slammed forward. The void trembled and shattered. Squeak, 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 squeak that made people's hearts tremble came from the void. A ferocious energy phantom that looked like a demonic rat appeared. It was the size of a baby, but it was shattered in the void and turned into nothingness. This is the land of Great Yin. Countless remnant souls from ancient times have gathered here. They attached themselves to the stars in the sky and formed some intelligence. They turned into evil beings and devoured each other to cultivate. It is said that some of the powerful evil beings here have already stepped into the domain realm. The closer they are to the stars in the sky, the stronger they are. Qi Yeshi said to Du Xiaofu seriously, "This is because this space is sealed and also because of the strange phenomenon of the stars in the sky. These evil beings are born with insufficient intelligence and cannot evolve into demonic beasts. However, they are still powerful and brutal. They are extremely difficult to deal with, so we have to be careful." Du Xiaofu nodded. No wonder it was said that the heavenly star secret realm was incomparably dangerous. He had actually failed to detect the appearance of that evil thing just now. This showed how strange it was. Du Xiaofu's consciousness spread out, and the power of the scarlet demonic monkey's primordial spirit surged out of his mind, along with the power of spiritual thunder. There were several types of spiritual thunder that were of extreme yang, and he believed that they could suppress these evil beings of the Great Yin. Boom! A moment later, Du Xiaofu waved his hand and extended it in front of a gorge. It was accompanied by electric arcs. The distorted space in front of his palm was wrapped by electric arcs, revealing the image of a ferocious exotic beast struggling in fear. It was only 1 meter in size, but it emitted an extremely frightening cold force. Is this the evil thing? Du Xiaofu imprisoned him and carefully observed him. These evil things have countless transformations, But they all carry traces of the ancient remnant souls when they were alive, Chiyeshi said. If it's a remnant soul, then I should be able to absorb it. As Du Xiaofu pondered, a thought passed through his mind. Suddenly, a silver-colored electric arc surged out from the fluctuating electric arc. It was accompanied by a vast and mighty force as it landed below the ferocious strange beast illusory figure. As if it was a natural enemy, it shattered and devoured the strange beast illusory figure. Finally, it rushed into Du Xiaofu's palm, transforming into a wave of energy that directly charged into the Naiwen Palace in his mind. A smile appeared on Du Xiaofu's face. The silver net soul-devouring thunder in his body could indeed devour these remnant souls. These evil beings of the Great Yin had developed intelligence and changed over a long period of time, but they were still remnant souls. Then, the two of them continued forward. The evil beings they encountered became stronger and stronger, and their numbers also increased. A dozen ferocious wolves rushed out of the dark gorge and surrounded Du Xiaofu and Chiyeshi. However, these evil beings were like moths to a flame. They were no match for Du Xiaofu and Chiyeshi at all. Du Xiaofu used the silver net soul-devouring thunder to devour these evil beings, then used the mysterious remnant cultivation method to refine them. He immediately felt the power of his primordial spirit increase. Although the speed of this increase was very slow, it was much faster than normal cultivation. They continued forward and passed through a vast space. However, they were also attacked by more and more powerful evil beings. A huge energy body of a giant bear roared. It had long fangs and a terrifying cold aura swept out like a storm. It's at least at the sealed domain realm. Chiyeshi was surprised. They had been in the Heavenly Star secret realm for more than 10 hours. This was undoubtedly the strongest evil energy body they had encountered so far. The evil energy body roared, and its aura could corrode the souls of living beings. Its terrifying eyes were fixed on Du Xiaofu and Chiyeshi, then it pounced on them. A cold wind swept out, and the void trembled under the pressure. Evil creature, Du Xiaofu said. He used the silver net soul-devouring thunder to kill it and devour it. Chiyeshi did not attack. Although these evil beings were powerful, she was not worried at all with Du Xiaofu's current strength and cultivation. Moreover, several types of spiritual thunder in his body could naturally suppress these evil beings. A few hours later, a few roars came from the dark gorge. Several colorful and ferocious energy bodies of ferocious beasts rushed out. They did not recognize them at all, but they were terrifyingly powerful. They suppressed the void and pounced on Du Xiaofu and Chiyeshi. They're so strong. They're at the Great Domain realm. Chiyeshi's heart trembled. These evil beings had not even reached the outer star land, but they had already reached such a level. Moreover, several of them had rushed out together. It was no wonder that many supremes of the Yin-Yang school who had entered the Heavenly Star secret realm had died. Rumble. Du Xiaofu attacked and activated the silver net soul-devouring thunder. These evil energy bodies were extremely powerful, but they were far from being comparable to Du Xiaofu's current strength. However, it took Du Xiaofu some time before they were all destroyed. With the silver net soul-devouring thunder and the mysterious incomplete cultivation technique, Du Xiaofu needed some time to devour and refine these energy bodies. After all, these energy bodies were already very powerful. The two of them found a flat and safe place. Du Xiaofu sat down cross-legged and began to refine the energy bodies he had devoured. His whole body was shrouded in a white divine light with silver electric arcs rippling. Not far away, Chiyeshi sat cross-legged and looked at the man shrouded in white divine light with a smile on her face. Then, she closed her eyes slightly to protect him. The surroundings were quiet, and there seemed to be no danger. However, Chiyeshi was not careless. She released her consciousness to the surrounding void. Once an evil being approached, she would immediately discover it. Chapter 1864. Inside the Heavenly Star secret realm, the light was dim. The fallen stars hovered in the horizon as if they were right in front of their eyes. Time passed slowly. It was so quiet that one could hear the sound of the wind. Qi Yeshi sat cross-legged with her eyes closed. She had maintained this state for a very long time. Du Xiaofu sat cross-legged not far away. His Yuan spirit aura rippled around him. Light flashed and arcs of electricity rippled, illuminating the surroundings in this dim space. At some point in time, there were faint ripples in the sky. Something seemed to be moving in the distance. Sizzle. At this moment, Qi Yeshi suddenly opened her eyes. Starlight rippled in the depths of her eyes. Yin and Yang Qi flowed around her body. The figure sitting cross-legged suddenly shot out. The beautiful figure spun in the sky strangely. Her slender waist under her long dress was so small that it could not be grasped with one hand. Her delicate body seemed ethereal in the sky. She formed a palm print with her slender hand. Mysterious runes rippled and even the air seemed to be frozen. Bang! As the palm print landed, the space in front of her exploded. Countless strands of cold energy suddenly shot out from the sky, carrying with them the ripples of runes. Woo! Countless strands of cold energy accompanied by runes instantly turned into a tornado. It swept through the sky with a strange woo sound as it swept towards Qi Yeshi. Evil being, how dare you! At the same time, Qi Yishi's Xian Qi wrapped around her body. As Yin and Yang Qi fluctuated, a series of hand seals quickly condensed. A small energy storm seemed to have formed in her delicate palm. A dazzling energy rune swept out from the cold energy storm and passed through space. Woo! The shattered strands of cold energy let out a strange ear-piercing sound. The strands of cold energy seemed to turn into chains. They shone with dazzling runes and appeared in front of Qi Yeshi in the blink of an eye. Break! Qi Yeshi's hand seals changed. Starlight condensed around her body and blocked the strange energy chains. The strange energy chain pierced through the void, spreading a terrifying aura. It was as if it was alive, trying to pierce through the starlight energy. These evil energies exuded an aura that was difficult to resist. If one were to come into contact with them, no matter how strong one's physical body was, it would be enough to pierce a bloody hole. In front of Qi Yeshi, starlight and rune energy spread out, suppressing the strange evil power. So strong, however, the intensity of the evil energy caused Qi Yishi's expression to change. Her starry eyes were filled with shock. At the same time, Qi Yeshi's hand seals changed again. Starlight and runes intertwined to form a claw print in the void. Yin and Yang Qi circulated above the claw. Suddenly, it grabbed at the evil chains and accurately caught the evil chains in its palm. A blazing talisman rune surged and crushed the chains into nothingness. Qila, numerous claw imprints swept out, and her figure was graceful. In an instant, the evil chains were all destroyed by Qi Yishi. Boom! But at the same time, a terrifying cold energy emitted a dark gray light in the void. It was like a waterfall, but it was the size of a mountain. There was a chilling light on it, and it was serrated. It was frighteningly sharp. It pierced through the void, and the space rippled as it rushed toward Qi Yeshi. Qi Yishi's figure traversed the void. Her graceful figure was like a bolt of lightning, and she narrowly avoided the energy waterfall. The energy waterfall retracted, and at the same time, a huge and terrifying energy body appeared in the void. It was a huge lizard-like demonic beast. It was like a mountain in the sky. It had only stretched out its tongue, and its entire body was covered with ferocious barbs. Its eyes emitted a frightening light, and the ripples in the void undulated as a vortex appeared. It's really strong. When such a ferocious beast energy body appeared, Qi Yishi couldn't help but be shocked. That terrifying aura made her not dare to be careless. Woo-woo. The ferocious beast energy body emitted an ear-piercing sound and emitted a dazzling gray light. The spatial ripples in the surroundings became denser, and it pounced towards Qi Yishi again. Evil creature, do you still want to overturn the heavens? Qi Yishi's expression turned serious. Her eyes shone brightly as she waved her hand. Dazzling energy runes were released, and the energy of heaven and earth rippled. Her delicate hands formed a seal, and a ferocious tiger shadow pounced out. It erupted with terrifying energy, and the yin and yang energies whistled. Hua-la-la! The two collided and turned into rune energy that filled the sky. In the end, the runes shattered and spread out. However, the ferocious tiger shadow was completely shattered. After the ferocious beast energy body was shattered, it condensed again. Its aura was even more tyrannical. Its huge body stretched across the sky, and its cold aura was extremely frightening. Rumble. Suddenly, a silver thunderbolt shot up from below and rapidly struck the ferocious beast shadow. It turned into dazzling electric arcs that filled the sky. Woo-woo, the ferocious beast emitted an ear-piercing sound. It seemed to be restrained by some kind of power. Its ferocious eyes surged with fear, and its huge body of energy immediately shattered. It turned into a stream of light and instantly disappeared in the air. Chi, silver electric arcs rippled, and a purple-robed man appeared in the air. It was Du Xiaofu who had been startled awake. "Are you all right?" Du Xiaofu came to Qi Yishi's side and withdrew his gaze from the distance. He had no intention of chasing after her, but there was a trace of surprise in the depths of his eyes. The energy body just now was not weak. "I'm fine. How's your refining?" Qi Yishi looked at Du Xiaofu and smiled. Although the energy body was powerful, it could not do anything to her. "I've finished refining. My soul has gained some benefits." Du Xiaofu had not hidden anything from Qi Yishi. These energy bodies had been refined by him, and they could strengthen the power of his soul. During the time in the Heavenly Star Secret Realm, he had absorbed those cold energy bodies and refined them. In terms of soul power, Du Xiaofu had indeed gained great benefits. Perhaps in the outside world, Du Xiaofu had a mysterious cultivation method. Even if he cultivated normally for dozens of years, it would be difficult for him to gain such benefits. "Ooh!" Hearing this, Qi Yishi secretly clicked her tongue. Soul power was the most difficult to cultivate. Not to mention martial cultivators, even talisman masters were the same. But this guy in front of her was actually able to refine those cold energy bodies and strengthen his soul. If the talisman masters in the outside world knew about this, how shocked would they be? Even the elders of the school of Yin Yang would be stunned if they knew. However, Qi Yishi was not too surprised. She did not find anything strange about Du Xiaofu. What could be more shocking than him coming back from the dead in Stone City? She had witnessed it with her own eyes and was also one of the participants. It does seem a little strange. Then, Qi Yishi looked at the distant sky and muttered to herself with a solemn expression. "That's right," Qi Yishi muttered to herself as she looked into the distance. "What's wrong?" Du Xiaofu asked Qi Yishi. "Something doesn't seem right. Although the evil beings in the Heavenly Star Secret Territory have intelligence, their intelligence is not complete. They shouldn't have run away, but the evil beings just now ran away." Qi Yishi felt an inexplicable worry in her heart. "Don't think too much. The evil beings that ran away are fine." Du Xiaofu did not pay too much attention to it. Although the evil beings that had just escaped were strong, they were not strong enough to make him fearful. These evil beings had spiritual intelligence. Although their spiritual intelligence was not complete, it was not surprising that they could escape. "I hope I'm overthinking it." Qi Yishi smiled. She also hoped that she was overthinking it. Looking at the stars in the sky in front of her, the light flickered and alternated between light and dark. The vast Qi was getting denser and denser. She opened her red lips slightly, raised her hands, and stretched her waist. The graceful curve of her body suddenly became lazy and charming. She said, "It's not far now. Let's go." Du Xiaofu nodded. Looking at the lazy and charming curve of her body, he could not help but be a little dazed. However, he also hoped to reach the stars as soon as possible. As soon as he finished speaking, he waved his hand and walked forward. Qi Yishi smiled and moved her feet slightly. Profound qi gushed out and followed closely behind him. The further they went, the greater the pressure of the stars in front of them. It made it more and more difficult for them to fly in the sky. It consumed a lot of their strength. It did not take long for them to feel exhausted. The Heavenly Star Secret Realm was extremely boring and there were dangers everywhere. However, the two of them did not feel that. Instead, they felt that time was passing very quickly. Along the way, they encountered more and more evil energy bodies. The closer they got to the stars, the more powerful the evil energy bodies attacked them. Most of these evil energy bodies were attacked by Du Xiaofu. Qi Yi, she wanted to help, but she was not as fast as Du Xiaofu. Qi Yi, she also knew that these energy bodies would be of great benefit to Du Xiaofu. Therefore, she did not bother to interfere. Du Xiaofu became more and more familiar with these evil energy bodies. With the help of the Silvernet soul-devouring lightning, he could easily deal with them, no matter how strong they were. The most powerful evil energy attack they had encountered so far was from 3-domain realm strange beasts. Their attacks were strange and unpredictable. Coupled with the special characteristics of their energy bodies, Du Xiaofu had to expend a lot of effort to deal with them. Even with Qi Yeshi's help, the Silvernet soul-devouring lightning was able to absorb all of them. Roar! On a dark mountain, Du Xiaofu and Qi Yi were resting. Suddenly, there was a loud roar that sounded like thunder. Then, a huge ferocious ape pounced out of the void. It carried a mighty and terrifying aura that could shatter the void. Its huge clenched fist pierced through the void and blasted toward Du Xiaofu and Qi Yi. "You're courting death." Du Xiaofu suddenly woke up and opened his eyes. Silver arcs of lightning dazzled his eyes. His figure instantly rushed out. A fist that was wrapped in rolling Silvernet soul-devouring lightning charged toward the ape and collided fiercely. Bang bang! The collision sounded like thunder. Formation arcs of lightning rippled and the ferocious ape's arm was instantly shattered. Its huge figure staggered back. Chapter 1865. The arm of the ferocious ape that had been smashed to pieces was then regenerated amidst the dark gray runes. Its ferocious eyes stared closely at Du Xiaofu, rippling violently. An evil creature at the master region level. Du Xiaofu's eyes rippled as he looked at the huge ferocious ape. This evil creature's energy body had actually reached the master region level. It was undoubtedly the strongest evil energy body he had encountered along the way. This evil energy body is different. Be careful. Qi Yeshi arrived at Du Xiaofu's side and frowned slightly when she sensed the power of the ferocious ape's energy body. Take care of yourself, Du Xiaofu said to Qi Yeshi. Human, you're courting death. As Du Xiaofu's voice fell, the ferocious ape spoke in human language. Its huge body carried a terrifying cold aura as it condensed a fist. The cold aura runes intertwined and enveloped Du Xiaofu like a storm. Let's see who's going to die. Du Xiaofu's purple robes fluttered as his hand seals changed quietly. A palm print met the ferocious ape's attack with lightning, accompanied by silver arcs of electricity. Bang! As the collision exploded, the ripples in the air dissipated in an arc. The ferocious ape's fist was shattered by Du Xiaofu once again. Whoosh! The ferocious ape's body was pushed back. Its arm that had been smashed by Du Xiaofu attempted to regenerate at the same time. Break for me! Du Xiaofu's figure was like a ghost, drifting like a deity. Suddenly, golden light burst out, and the sky-shaking wings flapped out. Boom! A peerlessly overbearing and fierce aura swept out as layer upon layer of golden talisman markings swept out like the golden wings of a roc. Under the instinctive terror in the ferocious ape's eyes, the ferocious ape's body was directly shattered by the sky-shaker wings. Although Du Xiaofu hadn't used any of his final killing moves in this attack, he didn't hold back at all. This evil ferocious ape's energy body was extraordinary. However, it could be said that Du Xiaofu's current strength was unlikely to find anyone below the Saint Realm who could match him. This evil ferocious ape's energy body was clearly not enough. Whoosh! The ferocious ape was shattered. The cold energy whistled like a tornado, the wind, and the clouds as it appeared in the sky. You can't escape. Du Xiaofu raised his head and electric arcs surged out of his eyes. Suddenly, a bolt of silver lightning shot out from his forehead. Chi! The silver lightning pierced through the void, and a mighty pressure descended, causing the void to tremble. Then, silver lightning spread out in all directions, as if the void had turned into a silver sea of lightning. Natural. Why? Phew! Du Xiaofu took a deep breath when the last Yin energy body was completely devoured. A smile appeared on his resolute face. Once he completely refined such a powerful Yin energy body, the benefits he would obtain would definitely not be small. We're almost there. Hopefully, there won't be any stronger evil creatures ahead. Qi Yeshi's brows were still furrowed as she stared at the stars floating in the void. The pressure was getting stronger and stronger. Now that they had encountered a domain realm evil energy entity, Qi Yeshi knew that if Du Xiaofu hadn't been by her side this time, it would have been extremely dangerous for her to enter this place. She definitely wouldn't have had it so easy. The closer they got to the outer star, the stronger the evil energy became. Qi Yeshi couldn't help but worry that even stronger evil energy would appear. If a stronger evil energy appeared, the consequences would be extremely troublesome. The outer star, we're finally almost there. Du Xiaofu wasn't nervous, nor was he too worried. Instead, he looked at the outer star floating not far ahead. It was like a bright moon hanging above his head, as if it was within his reach. The terrifying pressure made one's heart feel like it was being crushed by 1,000 tons of force. Just looking at it would make one feel breathless. This made Du Xiaofu even more expectant. The outer star was definitely a treasure. Whoosh whoosh, the two continued forward. As the pressure grew stronger, it became more and more difficult for them to fly in the air. In the end, as a precaution, the two decided to fly at a low altitude to conserve their strength. Du Xiaofu and Qi Yeshi were cautious along the way. However, the strange thing was that as they got closer to the outer star, the two of them didn't encounter any more evil energy entities. A few hours later, the two of them rested on the mountain top and prepared to return to their peak state before setting off again. Phew! Exhaling a mouthful of turbid qi, Qi Yeshi withdrew her hand's seal and stood up. Looking ahead, she said, "We're almost there." As Qi Yeshi stood up, Du Xiaofu leapt up. The golden light retracted, and the light in his eyes dimmed. He immediately arrived beside Qi Yeshi, looking ahead with ripples in his eyes. In front of them was a chain of mountains. The outer star was alternating between light and darkness. It was like a bright moon falling from the sky. The light flickered and was dazzling. The vast might caused Du Xiaofu's heart to tremble even with his current cultivation. Even from a distance, he could feel a terrifying energy ripple contained within the stars in the sky. So that's the outer star? Du Xiaofu rubbed his hands, and a blazing light appeared in his eyes. After running around in the heavenly star secret realm for so long, they were finally going to reach the outer star. I keep feeling that something is strange. It's been a long time since I've encountered those evil energy entities. Qi Yeshi had been worried all this time. They were getting closer and closer to the outer star, but they hadn't seen any evil energy entities for a long time. This was completely different from what the elders in her family had warned her about. Qi Yeshi couldn't help but worry. "We'll deal with whatever comes our way. Just be careful," said Du Xiaofu. "That's the only way." "Be careful," said Qi Yeshi. "Let's go." Du Xiaofu smiled. He tapped the ground with the tip of his foot, and a golden light shot out from the soles of his feet. His figure turned into a golden ray of light, and he shot toward the outer star like a bolt of lightning. Qi Yeshi followed closely behind him. The mountains were vast, but with Du Xiaofu and Qi Yeshi's speed, they appeared at the end of the mountains in a moment. The floating outer star seemed to be even larger at this moment. It was like the bright moon had fallen in front of them. It was incomparably vast, and its terrifying aura was majestic and intimidating. Oh, however, just as the two of them reached the end of the mountain range and saw the land of stars in front of them, the void in front of them suddenly trembled incessantly. Then, a series of ear-piercing roars sounded from the void above. Whoosh! In a short moment, a cold aura appeared above the void like a gust of wind, causing the void to tremble. The cold aura shrouded the sky and covered the sun. It even covered the light above the outer star. Oh! Under the ear-piercing roar, waves of cold energy appeared above the void like tornadoes. Then, many ferocious energy entities appeared. "Humans, you're courting death." The roar resounded, and a loud laughter like rolling thunder descended from the void. It shook the void, and ripples spread out like ripples. Chapter 1866. A dark red figure appeared in front of the many malevolent energy bodies. It was a middle-aged man dressed in dark red battle armor. He was standing on the back of a huge, malevolent lizard-like energy body. The lizard-like energy body was like a mountain in the sky. Its extended tongue was covered in serrated teeth, and its entire body was covered in sinister barbs. Its eyes shone with a frightening light, and the void around it rippled as a vortex appeared. This lizard-like energy body was the one that had escaped from Qi Yeshi and Du Xiaofu not long ago. A large number of malevolent energy bodies floated in the void, and behind them was the huge outer star. The malevolent energy bodies roared at the sky, and a chilling aura filled the sky. Strange runes filled the air, and it was extremely frightening. This scene also caused Du Xiaofu and Qi Yeshi to stop in their tracks. Looking at the malevolent energy bodies in front of them and feeling the chilling aura that filled the sky, surprise flashed in their eyes. They couldn't help but be moved. In particular, the middle-aged man in battle armor standing on the back of the malevolent lizard-like energy body made Du Xiaofu raise his eyebrows. That terrifying chilling aura filled the air. Compared to the energy body of the ferocious ape that they had killed and devoured several hours ago, which was no weaker than the domain realm, it was far more powerful. Why are there so many evil energy bodies? Qi Yeshi's expression changed. At this moment, there were no less than a few hundred evil energy bodies in front of them. They were all malevolent beasts, and many of them were extremely large. According to what Qi Yeshi knew, the closer one was to the outer star, the stronger the evil spirits would be. However, this also made other evil spirits not dare to approach. These evil spirits were all devouring each other to strengthen themselves. Therefore, it was almost impossible for them to gather together on such a large scale. At this moment, sensing the vast and terrifying cold aura, apart from the middle-aged energy body in the lead, Qi Yeshi also looked behind the middle-aged energy body in the battle armor. There was a huge black dragon and a huge gray python behind the middle-aged man in battle armor. Their auras distorted the space around them. They were no weaker than the young man in battle armor, and they were no weaker than the ferocious ape that Du Xiaofu had killed not too long ago. An evil energy body that is no weaker than the Overlord realm. Du Xiaofu stared at the middle-aged energy body in shock. This was the first time he had seen an energy body that had taken a human form in the Heavenly Star secret realm, and from Du Xiaofu's aura, Du Xiaofu felt that it was no weaker than the Lord realm. It was probably not something an ordinary Lord realm cultivator could compare to. It was not something an ordinary Lord realm cultivator could compare to. The domain realm. Du Xiaofu raised his eyebrows slightly when he sensed the aura of the black dragon and the grayish-white python behind the middle-aged energy form. There were also several hundred other energy bodies gathered together. None of their auras were weak. It looks like something really has happened. Du Xiaofu licked his lips after looking around. This large group of evil energy bodies did not make Du Xiaofu too fearful. On the contrary, his eyes surged with a blazing fighting spirit. We're in trouble. Qi Yeshi spoke from Du Xiaofu's side. She frowned. She knew that a fierce battle was unavoidable from the dense group of evil energy bodies hovering in the sky. It was no wonder that sovereigns from the school of Yin Yang had died here in the past. Even the elders of the school of Yin Yang would struggle to deal with so many evil energy bodies, especially the ones at the front. The several hundred evil energy bodies hovered in the air. The huge black dragon and the huge gray python stared at Du Xiaofu and Qi Yeshi. Their huge, ferocious eyes were chilling. The middle-aged man in dark red battle robes stepped on the evil lizard energy body. His battle robes fluttered slightly, and the void around him was distorted. A terrifying cold aura was released like a storm. The middle-aged energy body looked quite handsome and even had a hint of evil charm. It was as if he had walked out of hell. It's been a long time since a human came here. You seem to be quite strong, but you can't leave now that you're here. Killing you should be able to help me advance further. The middle-aged energy body in battle robes spoke in a faint voice. His eyes swept over Du Xiaofu and Qi Yeshi as if he was sizing up his prey. It was obvious that the middle-aged energy body was the leader of these evil energy bodies. He should be the strongest. I'm afraid you're not strong enough to kill us. However, I should be able to benefit a lot from killing you. Du Xiaofu looked at the middle-aged energy body in battle robes, smiled, and said softly, "Is that so? We'll know once we try." Hearing Du Xiaofu's words, the smile on the face of the middle-aged energy body in battle robes slowly froze, and a sinister look appeared on his face. As his voice fell, his figure abruptly shot out from the back of the evil lizard energy body, and his figure abruptly disappeared as if he had vanished into thin air. "Be careful!" Just as the middle-aged energy body disappeared, Du Xiaofu's voice immediately sounded. At the same time, Du Xiaofu narrowed his eyes and stepped forward. Almost at the same time, he blasted a punch into the void in front of him. Boom! The punch rippled with golden light and shattered the void. Chi! As the void rippled, a cold aura emerged from the depths of the void and turned into a fierce claw. It pierced through the void like 5 sharp swords, and wherever it passed, pitch-black cracks appeared. Not weak. Du Xiaofu raised his eyebrows. The energy body in the lead was indeed not weak, and he didn't feel like this energy body was lacking in intelligence. While secretly surprised, Du Xiaofu's hand seals changed. Profound qi surged, and runes gushed out. The fist in his hand turned into a palm, and the palm print shone with golden light. This was the Shaoyang seal. It was extremely strong and domineering, and it collided with the attack. Rumble! A muffled sound rang out in the void as the cold energy and the golden light shot out. This kind of collision instantly made the void feel as if it was about to shatter. Qi! In the shattered void, the middle-aged energy body in battle robes strangely appeared. His eyes were sinister, and his figure appeared in front of Du Xiaofu like a bolt of black lightning. A cold aura pierced through the void like a thunderbolt and appeared in front of Du Xiaofu's forehead in an instant. The cold aura was extremely sinister and carried a terrifying aura. The surrounding void was faintly discernible and shattered. His speed is really fast. Du Xiaofu raised his eyebrows. This evil energy body was powerful, and his speed was strange and strange. He didn't dare to be careless. A silver arc of lightning rushed out from between his eyebrows. It was dazzling and blazing, and it instantly collided with the cold aura. A vast aura of thunder erupted. It was the silver net soul-devouring thunder, the nemesis of the cold aura. It easily resisted the cold aura. The middle-aged man in battle robes let out a soft sound of surprise. He seemed to have sensed something, and his figure floated in the void in a daze. Chapter 1867. Spirit Thunder Aura. Then he looked at Du Xiaofu. The middle-aged man in the dark red battle suit narrowed his eyes, and there was fear in his eyes. "You don't look like you're lacking intelligence," Du Xiaofu said. Judging from the middle-aged man's reaction, he definitely didn't look like someone lacking intelligence. "You have spirit thunder, huh? You've delivered yourself to me. Even the heavens are on my side." Hiding the fear in his eyes, the middle-aged energy body in the battle suit stared at Du Xiaofu with a hint of passion in his gloomy eyes. As soon as he finished speaking, he waved his hand and a bestial roar rang out, "Kill!" Roar! As soon as the middle-aged man's voice fell, the void shook violently. The roar was ear-piercing, and terrifying auras erupted. The cold aura swept out like a tidal wave, and the runes and cold aura soared into the sky and covered the sun. Roar! The energy bodies of the black dragon and the grayish-white python had already taken the lead to attack Du Xiaofu and Qi Yeshi. That ferocious lizard energy body and hundreds of evil energy bodies followed closely behind. They came crushing down in a mighty manner. Even Du Xiaofu couldn't help but frown when he saw this scene. This was especially true for the black dragon and the gray python. Both of their auras were at least at the domain realm. In the outside world, such strength was enough to shake the entire 9 provinces. "Be careful," Du Xiaofu reminded Qi Yeshi. As soon as his voice fell, he leaped out first. Golden light erupted as the great rock's chaos-crushing claw distorted the void and grabbed at the black dragon energy body with unparalleled force. At the same time, dazzling runes spread out from Qi Yeshi's body. Yin and yang auras surged and shrouded her. Her clothes fluttered, and the multicolored light around her body was like the fluctuations of stars. She had an extraordinary and holy aura. With a wave of her wrist, she formed a hand seal. Mysterious runes surged out of this hand seal. It was like the light of the stars in the night sky. A vast aura covered the sky and covered the earth, directly suppressing the grayish-white python. This was the brilliant star seal. Qi Yeshi did not hold back and used her full strength. The terrifying hand seal swallowed the void and suppressed the sky as it collided with the grayish-white python. The energy body of the python was not ordinary. It hissed savagely, its scarlet tongue flicking, and cold energy billowed out of its bloody mouth. It blocked Qi Yeshi's brilliant star seal. Hiss! The giant tail tore through the air and shot out from the broken runes like a bolt of lightning, instantly arriving in front of Qi Yeshi. The grayish-white python's Yeshi. Qi Yeshi's body was wrapped in starlight, and a handprint quickly condensed. A small energy storm seemed to have formed in her delicate palm, and a dazzling energy rune swept out from the energy storm. It seemed to have passed through space and finally shot toward the huge tail. The two collided in an instant. The giant tail was pierced through by Qi Yeshi, but a terrifying wave of frigid energy erupted and transformed into a storm. The grayish-white runes burned brightly, and the cold energy spread out like a raging tide. Qi Yeshi retreated rapidly, but she was also affected. She staggered back, and the starlight on her body dimmed. Her beautiful face changed color. Boom! Du Xiaofu shattered the black dragon with a claw and landed beside Qi Yeshi. The shattered black dragon energy body recovered after being caught. It roared savagely, and its eyes were filled with unwillingness. "Are you okay?" Du Xiaofu asked Qi Yeshi. He waved his purple robe, and golden light rushed out, protecting the surrounding void. "I'm fine. But there are too many evil creatures. We have to fight a fierce battle." Qi Yeshi stabilized her body and looked at the densely packed malevolent energy bodies with a grave expression. "Oh." After a short pause, the malevolent lizard energy body and the densely packed evil energy bodies arrived in an instant. Du Xiaofu waved his hand fiercely, and a domineering and ferocious aura suddenly spread out from his body and swept out, causing the space to tremble. A faint golden light gushed out, and the golden talisman's secret patterns flickered and condensed, forming an arc-shaped golden space dent around his palm. It was densely packed and layered, like the golden wings of a golden-winged rock. As Du Xiaofu's hand seal streaked across the space, golden light burst out and illuminated the sky. It was like a golden bomb had exploded in the void in front of him. Rumble golden runes overflowed and waves of air surged. A large area of space was swept away, leaving behind traces of a vacuum. It was a terrifying scene. The terrifying golden energy was incomparably domineering, and it was like a shock wave in the void. Many of the evil energy bodies were powerful, but they were also drowned by the golden shock wave. Many screams and roars were heard. Many energy bodies were shattered, and the lizard energy body was the first to be shattered. Du Xiaofu's purple robe fluttered, and golden light surged out of his eyes. His aura was domineering. However, the evil energy body that had been shattered was soon restored to its original state. "Humans, you won't be able to struggle for long." The middle-aged energy body in dark red armor sneered and stared greedily at Du Xiaofu and Qi Yeshi. He said in a sharp and eerie voice, "Kill them! Kill them!" Wu, the black dragon, the gray python, the ferocious lizard, and the other energy bodies rushed out again, roaring like thunder and stirring up the clouds. "Don't worry about me. I can protect myself for a while." Qi Yeshi frowned and looked serious. She didn't want to distract Du Xiaofu. She had entered the Heavenly Star secret realm. With her identity, the Yin-Yang school had also prepared. She had brought some trump cards with her, so she could at least protect herself for a while. "Okay, You can protect yourself. Leave the rest to me. Du Xiaofu spoke. He raised his head slightly and looked at the raging tide of energy that was charging towards him once again. With a thought, ancient runes immediately rippled around his body and connected to each other in 8 directions. They transformed into a dazzling divine ring that spread out in all directions. This was the 8 trigrams diagram. Du Xiaofu didn't hold back in the face of the evil energy bodies that blotted out the sky. Rumble. Suddenly, the void rumbled, and there was a sonorous sound of wind and thunder. The 8 trigrams diagram had the roars of thousands of beasts, thunder, mountains, lakes, wind, rain, thunder, and lightning alternating. The sun, moon, and stars changed, and mountains and rivers moved. When the 8 trigrams diagram appeared, it enveloped the surroundings and spread out for thousands of feet. Du Xiaofu was like a holy spirit in the sky. His invisible aura made people tremble in fear, and it also enveloped the middle-aged man in battle armor. The middle-aged energy body in dark red armor trembled, and fear surged in his eyes. The black dragon and the gray python were also frozen in the void and couldn't move an inch in the 8 trigrams diagram. The other energy bodies were also frozen, and fear surged in their terrifying eyes. Numerous strange hand seals condensed. When Du Xiaofu let out a shout, the 8 trigrams diagram underwent a transformation. Lightning and stars descended, as well as raging flames, the roars of 10,000 beasts, lightning flashed, and thunder rumbled. A vast pressure appeared in the air, as though it was capable of annihilation, enveloping this part of the world. Rumble, the whole void boiled, and the world resonated. The world of the secret realm was also vast and turbulent. Dazzling runes were like a sea, surging with stormy waves. At this moment, the ferocious energy bodies collapsed inch by inch under the terrible power. Then the ferocious lizard energy body, the gray python, and the black dragon all collapsed one after another. Damned human! The middle-aged energy body in dark red armor roared. His body suddenly swelled in the 8 trigrams diagram, spreading out and covering the sky. A cold aura surged, and dark red light flickered with a cold luster. The runes blazed. In an instant, a cold wind blew in the void, and the sound of ghosts crying and gods howling was ear-splitting. A cold aura rolled down from the sky and hung in the void. It was as if the gates of hell had been opened. At this moment, the middle-aged energy body had become hundreds of meters tall. It was ferocious and frightening. It was dark red like blood, like a ghost king. That terrifying aura made all living creatures tremble. Kill! The giant phantom spoke with a deafening ghostly voice. With a wave of his hand, countless cold bolts swept out like lightning, tearing the void apart. They turned into energy ripples and swept out like a vast ocean. In the end, they condensed into a terrifying dark red blood seal. Woo-woo! This blood seal was shot out. The bloody color overflowed and crushed the void. It was as if a sea of blood was falling. It was incomparably terrifying. Within the 8 trigrams diagram, Du Xiaofu only raised his head slightly and then raised his right hand. In an instant, the void was hazy, lightning flashed, and thunder rumbled. A vision appeared in the sky like a god. Without a sound, Du Xiaofu slapped out with his palm. There were traces of the 8 trigrams on his palm that condensed in the void. It continuously collided with the blood-colored palm, bringing with it a kind of indescribable power. Chi-la! This kind of collision suddenly released a bright light. It was as if a calm and vast sea had suddenly exploded. The runes were shattered, and the waves were magnificent. The blood seal dissipated as soon as it came into contact. It was directly shattered. The giant phantom also shattered. The momentum was irresistible. Human, you can't destroy me. However, as the giant phantom shattered, the monstrous cold energy began to condense again. It even devoured the shattered cold energy in the surroundings, wanting to continue to condense the giant phantom. It's not difficult to destroy you, Du Xiaofu said. As his voice fell, a silver arc of lightning swept out from between his eyebrows. Boom! Boom! Suddenly, a shocking scene appeared. A shocking white lightning directly pierced through the void and silently appeared around Du Xiaofu. The silver-white arc of lightning spread out and instantly enveloped the void. The rumbling sound of thunder resounded in the void. The palpitating white lightning intertwined, and a terrifying pressure spread out from it. It was filled with an aura that could destroy one's primordial spirit. The arc of lightning surged and turned into a giant silver-white lightning tree. It was like a demon god in the sky, erupting with earth-shattering lightning. It was as if heavenly lightning had descended, punishing all life. It bloomed branches and scattered leaves, covering the 8 trigrams diagram in the void. Waves of shocking silver lightning energy spread out, as if it had turned into countless silver-white spiritual snakes that shuttled through the void. The oppressive might of the lightning caused one's hair to stand on end and their hearts to turn cold. Under this terrifying lightning, the cold energy in the 8 trigrams diagram in the void boiled. It was an instinctive fear. Chapter 1868. In this short instant, when the silver-white giant lightning tree appeared, the lightning arcs that hid the sky and covered the earth shuttled back and forth like a spiritual root, drawing the surging dark and cold energy. The frightening dark and cold energy was forcibly absorbed by the tree. As the lightning tree appeared, the blood-red figure that was about to recover began to feel fear. It was as if it had been pulled in by a great force, and it was unable to completely condense. It seemed to have been suppressed and drawn in by a natural force. Unable to control itself, it madly shot toward the lightning tree. Rumble! Terrifying silver-white lightning swept out, causing the world to tremble violently. The silver-white lightning wreaked havoc, as if countless bombs had exploded within the 8 trigrams diagram. It was ear-piercing and dizzying. Within the 8 trigrams diagram, the vast and terrifying cold energy that covered the sky was directly devoured and absorbed the moment it came into contact with the silver-white lightning arcs. The giant blood-red figure that was about to reform crumbled inch by inch under the devouring and influence of the monstrous silver-white lightning arcs, unable to reform. "My lord, save me, save me," a shrill voice filled with fear rang out from the monstrous blood-red cold energy. The voice reverberated in the air, and even the rumbling thunder could not drown it out. However, the voice had only just sounded when the monstrous blood-red cold energy was completely destroyed and then absorbed by the silver net soul-devouring lightning. The giant lightning tree stood in the air as lightning arcs filled the sky, like the waves of a silver lake in a sea of lightning. It did not take long for the all-encompassing cold energy to be completely devoured. This scene was simply too terrifying, causing Qi Yeshi's expression to change. She finally felt the terror of the spirit lightning up close. How many people in the world wanted to integrate spirit lightning into their bodies? Not to mention the fact that spirit lightning was extremely rare and could only be found by chance. More importantly, very few people succeeded. Many talented people who wanted to integrate spirit lightning ended up dying in the end. However, the man in front of her had integrated several spirit lightnings into his body. Even with Qi Yeshi's status and experience, she could not help but sigh at this moment. However, there was more joy in the depths of her heart. Walala! The silver-sifting soul-devouring lightning that filled the sky began to dissipate, and the giant lightning tree collapsed. In the end, everything converged, turning into a resplendent silver-white tangible lightning arc that shot into Du Xiaofu's forehead. The Yin energy bodies that filled the sky were no longer there, and the dark void around them began to brighten up. What a huge amount of energy! Du Xiaofu exhaled a deep breath of air. His face was a little pale and his face was flushed red. His body and mind were filled with the surging dark and cold energy that had been devoured by the silver net soul-devouring lightning. He had yet to refine it. However, Du Xiaofu knew very well that once he completely refined the surging cold energy in his body, the benefits he would gain from his Yuan spirit would be far greater than what he had gained in the heavenly star secret realm. It's an unexpected gain. A smile appeared on his resolute face. Du Xiaofu was very satisfied with his gains. Even if he could not obtain any other benefits from the heavenly star secret realm, it would be a worthwhile trip. However, Du Xiaofu did not dare to be careless with the surging cold energy in his body that he had yet to refine. The surging cold energy was no joke as soon as he was affected. He might even suffer from cultivation deviation. It would definitely be extremely dangerous. Things do seem a little bad. There are other energy bodies here. Qi Yeshi stared ahead, but her enchanting face did not relax. She still remained solemn. When the blood-red figure dissipated, it was clearly calling out for other existences. Are there other energy bodies? Du Xiaofu probed with his mind. The cries for help from the blood-red figure naturally did not escape Du Xiaofu's ears. However, Du Xiaofu didn't discover anything when he probed with his mind, and a puzzled expression appeared on his face. Be careful. Let's go ahead and take a look. Du Xiaofu withdrew his mind and carefully moved forward. The enormous outer sky star was suspended in the void. It was incomparably vast and attracted Du Xiaofu's attention. Qi Yeshi was vigilant and did not dare to be careless. She then followed behind Du Xiaofu. The vast outer sky star was suspended in the void. It was shining brightly like a bright moon. The invisible crushing force distorted the surrounding void into a concave shape. Even with Du Xiaofu and Qi Yeshi's cultivation level, they felt as if they were facing a strong wind. Is this the outer sky star? Finally, the two approached the vast outer sky star. It was suspended in the air and filled with a powerful aura. It made one's heart tremble and beat faster. It's really incredible. Du Xiaofu was also amazed. This huge star was thousands of feet in size and was as majestic as a mountain. Its entire body was irregularly round and there were holes of varying depths on its surface. There were dazzling rays of light flickering on them. If one looked closely, they would discover that those flickering rays of light were actually densely packed runes. These symbols are related to the Star Power Upanishad. If the Star Power Upanishad absorbs this energy, it can increase your power. Qi Yeshi's beautiful face was shocked. Then she became happy. The symbols on the outer sky star were related to the Star Power Upanishad. And if the Star Power Upanishad absorbed the energy from the outer sky star, it could increase one's cultivation base. Be careful! All of a sudden, Du Xiaofu changed his face in fright. He pulled Qi Yeshi and retreated quickly. Swish, swish, swish. While Du Xiaofu was pulling Qi Yeshi to retreat, the outer sky star began to fluctuate. The tremendous aura began to ripple everywhere like surging waves. Sizzle, sizzle. In a very short time, the outer sky star was filled with dazzling electric arcs. However, these electric arcs were very strange. They were as dazzling as the stars. The electric arcs were still spreading, filling the void with dazzling electric arcs. They emitted an aura that could make one's primordial spirit tremble. They were like stars floating in the Milky Way, blinking their eyes. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. The electric arcs intertwined with each other. A terrifying aura spread out, causing Qi Yeshi's expression to change drastically. Du Xiaofu's figure retreated. His eyes stared at the unfolding starlight and electric arcs in front of him. The thunder martial vein in his body was affected and the scarlet demonic monkey primordial spirit in his mind was also affected. What is that? Qi Yeshi exclaimed. She could feel the destructive aura from the electric arcs. That vast aura made her divine soul tremble. Chapter 1869. Spiritual Lightning. It's a bolt of spiritual lightning. Du Xiaofu exclaimed. His eyes narrowed. He did not even need to sense the reaction of his soul or the lightning veins in his body to know that it was a bolt of spiritual lightning that had appeared from the stars. Spiritual lightning. Qi Yeshi was stunned. She had never known that there was a bolt of spiritual lightning in the heavenly Qin's secret realm. Even her father had never told her about it. Walala! The starlight rippled, filling the sky in an extremely short amount of time. It looked like a river of stars had filled the sky. However, the terrifying pressure and soul-shaking presence announced that this was a bolt of spiritual lightning that could destroy all things, not a gentle starlight. Spiritual lightning. Human, you have spiritual lightning. I knew when you came in, hee. The starlight rippled, and a voice that sounded like a woman's voice rang out from the vast expanse of starlight. Violent ripples appeared in the surroundings. Your spiritual lightning? Qi Yeshi asked. Her face was solemn as she stood close to Du Xiaofu. She could sense the terrifying presence and knew just how terrifying this bolt of spiritual lightning was. This bolt of spiritual lightning was probably what the humanoid energy body had asked for help in the end. It was not asking for help from any other energy body, but a terrifying bolt of spiritual lightning. That's right. You can call me spiritual lightning, but you can also call me Lord Taiqin. However, I don't mind what you low-level creatures call me, let alone you, because you're all going to die anyway. The voice paused for a moment, and the starlight rippled violently. It was like a pair of terrifying eyes had locked onto Du Xiaofu. It said, especially you, human. To be able to kill those energy bodies, your cultivation is indeed extraordinary. You even have spiritual lightning on you. How could those ignorant idiots be a match for you? However, that's not important because you're also going to die, hee. You were the one who created those energy bodies? Hearing the tone of the spiritual thunder, Du Xiaofu raised his head slightly, narrowed his eyes, and frowned slightly. The invisible aura that spread out from the starlight and lightning arcs that covered the sky was definitely extremely powerful. You can say that I created those energy bodies, but you can also say that I didn't. Strictly speaking, they were attracted and gathered by the meteorite. Over a long period of time, they began to gain sentience, but they were so stupid that they had no intelligence. One day, I woke up and cultivated here. For so many years, I've been hiding in the meteorite. When I was bored, I gave these energy bodies sentience so that they could help me pass the time. The voice ripple of starlight, the starlight. The voice became more and more agitated and shrill as it spoke. It continued, but now, there's no need for that anymore. You too are not weak. You even devoured those idiots that were supposed to be devoured by me. Now, I'll refine you, and with the other spiritual lightning, I'll definitely be able to take that step forward. When that time comes, I'll be able to leave this boring space and come out into the world. I'll be able to achieve the name, Taiqin, he. An intense and sharp sound reverberated in the air like endless thunder. A terrifying arc of starlight rose and fell along with the sound wave, as if the sound wave was surging violently. Just the fluctuating aura alone made Du Xiaofu frown again. Qi Yeshi's face turned slightly pale. The energy bodies in the Tianqin secret territory originally didn't have any intelligence. It turned out that the spiritual lightning was the one who secretly created them. It was hiding in the stars, and the experts of the Yinyang school had never discovered it. Du Xiaofu and Qi Yeshi looked at each other and exchanged glances. Phew! Du Xiaofu took a deep breath and suppressed the surging cold energy in his body. He said to Qi Yeshi, "Protect yourself. Leave the rest to me." With that, Du Xiaofu took a step forward and raised his head slightly. Light began to flicker in his eyes. "Be careful." This time, Qi Yeshi didn't say anything. She knew that with the presence of the spiritual lightning, she wouldn't be able to help much. She frowned, but she began to retreat. Protecting herself and not letting him worry was already the best way to help. Hee, the spiritual lightning laughed again. Its invisible eyes stared at Du Xiaofu and said, "Little human, you have some guts. But I'm really curious how you managed to fuse with a spiritual lightning." "You want the spiritual lightning in my body?" Du Xiaofu said as he stared at the rippling arcs of starlight. Under those invisible eyes, he felt a little uneasy. If it was someone whose cultivation was not high enough, they would not even have the chance to attack under the influence of those invisible eyes. This spiritual thunder was definitely not an ordinary one. Du Xiaofu didn't find it strange that the spiritual lightning, which called itself Taiqin, reacted to him. When spiritual lightning devoured each other, it would become stronger and stronger. Back then, when he encountered the heavenly earth thunder and the silver silk soul-devouring lightning, they all wanted to devour the spiritual lightning in his body. But in the end, they were devoured by him and he became stronger. Therefore, at this moment, when he encountered this spiritual lightning and felt its presence, Du Xiaofu was a little afraid. His heart was filled with anticipation. His eyes shone with a blazing light. Hee, little human, you don't deserve our spiritual lightning. So, I will take it back. With the two of you, the heavens are really helping me. His giggles echoed in the air. Is that so? I'm also looking forward to it. Du Xiaofu stepped into the air, his purple robe fluttering. Arrogant and ignorant human. The laughter suddenly changed and the voice became cold. The starlight and electric arcs fluctuated, and a bright electric arc rushed out. It condensed into a curved saber wrapped in starlight, and it instantly rushed towards Du Xiaofu. This curved warblade was a bit blurry, but the symbols were resplendent and blazing. The aura that accompanied it was shocking, making people feel fear. That kind of aura wanted to destroy the world. It traversed through the void and was incomparable. One could see that wherever it passed, the void would crumble inch by inch. The deathly still and withered earth below was also turning into fine powder. It seemed like it could destroy everything. It was too terrifying. This was the condensed spiritual lightning, and it wanted to kill Du Xiaofu directly. Be careful, Qi Yeshi looked dignified, and her body was wrapped in starlight. At this moment, the aura of the curved saber made her worry for Du Xiaofu. She knew that she couldn't resist that terrifying aura. Du Xiaofu looked serious, but he didn't retreat half a step. His hands formed a seal, and he wanted to fight it head-on. Chapter 1870. Seeing that Du Xiaofu actually wanted to fight it head-on, Qi Yeshi's expression became even more serious. That terrifying spiritual thunder was definitely not to be underestimated. It was much stronger than her granduncle Qi Xingpa's aura. Rumble, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled, like rolling thunder. Fierce thunder exploded in the void, shaking the sky. This was not the thunder caused by the spiritual thunder. This was the thunder caused by the lightning runes on Du Xiaofu's body at this moment. Du Xiaofu activated his thunder martial vein, letting out the sound of lightning flashing and thunder rumbling. In an instant, an unparalleled purple arc of lightning rushed out from Du Xiaofu's body. The runes were dazzling, wrapping around his fist. The earth-shaking fist condensed into the domineering fist path, directly blocking the battle blade condensed from the starlight and spiritual thunder. It blocked the destructive momentum of the battle blade. Rumble, this was too terrifying. The two collided, and the sound of wind and thunder was endless. The sky was full of electric arcs, as if the world was about to be turned upside down. An unbelievable scene appeared. The battle blade that could destroy everything clashed with Du Xiaofu's domineering fist path. After a moment of stalemate, the terrifying starlight and electric arcs surged into Du Xiaofu's body. However, it did not harm Du Xiaofu. Instead, it was involuntarily absorbed by Du Xiaofu and then shattered. A thunderous sound of surprise came from the starlight and electric arcs, and a strange fluctuation appeared. Dang dang. Du Xiaofu's body was wrapped by the bright starlight and electric arcs, and his figure also staggered back a few steps. Walala, however, as he stomped on the air and stabilized his body, the starlight and electric arcs on his body were withdrawn, and purple electric arcs appeared. The thunder martial vein wrapped around his body, and his hair fluttered behind him like purple electric arcs. Not bad. Du Xiaofu raised his head slightly to look at the overwhelming starlight and electric arcs. He licked his lips and enjoyed it very much. He immediately felt that the thunder martial vein in his body was boiling. However, in his heart, Du Xiaofu was not careless at all. This spiritual lightning was too strong. It was much stronger than the 7-star break. Peak of the Lord Realm? According to Du Xiaofu's guess, this bolt of lightning was probably at the peak of the Overlord region realm. Even though he hadn't sensed the aura of an exalted nirvana exalt from it, as a bolt of lightning, it was a supreme being of this world, so its strength was definitely above 7-star splitter. What a strange martial vein. It gives me a familiar feeling. Brat, you're not from the Yin-Yang school. Or you? The female voice of thunder rippled through the void. From Du Xiaofu's body, the spiritual thunder seemed to have sensed a familiar aura from the depths of its memory. This aura made it feel familiar yet fearful, fearful yet greedy. The aura made it feel that if it could devour the human in front of it, the benefits would definitely be far greater than devouring any other bolt of lightning. It doesn't matter who I am. Don't you want to refine me? You don't seem to have the ability to do so. Du Xiaofu spoke with a relaxed expression, but he was not careless at all. If he made a mistake and fell into the hands of this bolt of lightning, the consequences would be obvious. There was still surging cold energy in his body that he hadn't refined yet, so he couldn't let any accidents happen. Ignorant brat. The sound of the starlight and electric arcs became sharp. Many bolts of lightning shot out like streaks of starlight, bombarding Du Xiaofu with lightning speed. Come! Du Xiaofu stepped into the air and waved his sleeve. The purple electric arcs on his body became even more resplendent. Sizzle! When the streaks of starlight and thunder came into contact with the purple electric arcs on Du Xiaofu's body, they would erupt with muffled sounds of wind and thunder. Then, they would directly surge into his body and disappear, making the purple electric runes on his body become even more resplendent. The starlight and thunder were terrifying and could destroy everything. When the streaks of starlight fell, it gave people the illusion of a sky full of falling stars, as if they were going to destroy the world. However, when faced with Du Xiaofu's lightning martial vein, they were naturally restrained and were devoured by it. Du Xiaofu's physical body, under the forging of the purple gold Xian bomb, was already an indestructible Xian body. The starlight and thunder could destroy everything, but in front of the indestructible Xian body, they seemed to be somewhat frustrated. As the streaks of starlight and thunder struck down, Du Xiaofu stood proudly in the storm like starlight and thunder. This was so domineering that it shocked everyone. However, Qi was the only one who saw this scene, and she was shocked. Boom, boom, boom. In the starlight and thunder, the streaks of starlight and thunder were like streaks of starlight that constantly exploded around Du Xiaofu. Du Xiaofu, under the double protection of the lightning martial vein and the indestructible Xian body, stood there calmly. The surrounding starlight and thunder were devoured by the lightning martial vein, causing the purple electric runes on Du Xiaofu's lightning martial vein to become even more resplendent. However, at this moment, Du Xiaofu seemed to be relaxed, but his brows were slightly furrowed. Previously, Du Xiaofu had swallowed too much yin energy and had yet to refine it. At this moment, he was also affected by the violent impact. This was not a good thing. Du Xiaofu felt a faint pressure and seriousness. Human, your martial vein is special, but you are too greedy. From the moment you entered here, I knew that you had a spiritual thunder in your body, so I purposely let those stupid energy bodies let you devour it. I guess you are not feeling good now, right? Humans are greedy, but humans are insignificant. When these words fell, in an instant, the starlight and electric arcs that occupied the void became even more violent. The streaks of thunder were like falling stars. Bang, bang, bang. The thunder exploded, and the void collapsed inch by inch. Dang, dang. As the space around him collapsed inch by inch and the electric arcs surged, Du Xiaofu was also forced to stagger back. At this moment, Du Xiaofu's lightning martial vein and indestructible Xian body could not withstand the violent impact of the spiritual thunder. This is not good, Du Xiaofu frowned and his face turned pale. The surging cold energy in his body seemed to have sensed an opportunity at this moment, and it began to rampage in his body and mind. Ignorant human, you have tasted the bitter fruit of greed. Once I devour you, I will definitely break through to the Saint Realm. At that time, this space will no longer be able to restrain me. The thunder was like a falling star, bombarding Du Xiaofu indiscriminately. Can you deal with it? This was destruction. Qi Yeshi watched from afar with fear. If this happened outside, the entire school of Yin Yang would probably be destroyed. I have to end this quickly. I can't drag this out any longer. Lightning flashed in Du Xiaofu's eyes as he muttered to himself. This kind of impact had too great of an impact on the surging cold energy in his body. The spiritual thunder had been condensed here for countless years and had grown to the peak of the master realm. It was naturally extremely terrifying. Coupled with the cold energy in Du Xiaofu's body, it was even more difficult to deal with. Chapter 1871. Let's go all out. With a decision in his heart, Du Xiaofu did not hesitate any longer. He waved his hand in the midst of the star splendor and thunderbolts that were exploding around him. With a wave of his hand, a purple-gold flowing light immediately spread out from his palm. Bzzzt, the purple thunder profound cauldron instantly appeared in Du Xiaofu's palm. As Du Xiaofu waved his hand and tossed it upwards, it transformed into a huge three-legged cauldron that hung upside down in the air. Rumble, 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 rumble. Wind and thunder clanged, and the heavens and earth suddenly trembled violently. Purple-gold thunderclouds gathered out of thin air. Lightning flashed and thunder roared, condensing into a large expanse of purple-gold lightning that occupied the sky. The destructive aura of this lightning made one's heart tremble. Explosions rang out continuously as purple-gold lightning wreaked havoc, as if countless bombs were exploding in the sky. A destructive energy spread out, and the surrounding ancient heaven and earth seemed to be about to be destroyed. If spirit lightning was said to be the supreme living being of this world, then it was a terrifying existence. At this moment, this purple-gold profound lightning was the supreme of supreme beings, and also the supreme of lightning. The might and pressure emanating from the purple-gold profound lightning was not something that the starlight spirit lightning could compare to at all. With Du Xiaofu's current cultivation, activating the purple thunder profound cauldron and using the purple-gold profound lightning was no longer the same as before. It was enough to suppress the starlight spirit lightning. Although Du Xiaofu had many trump cards now, the purple-gold profound lightning was still his strongest trump card. What is that? At this moment, the spirit lightning also immediately felt that terrifying might. Streaks of starlight and lightning rippled violently, and the surrounding lightning space rippled as if the galaxy was shaking. Come on! Du Xiaofu activated the purple thunder profound cauldron, using the purple-gold profound lightning to suppress it. As the vast purple-gold profound lightning spun around the purple thunder profound cauldron, it turned into a lightning black hole. Rumble. The space around the purple lightning profound cauldron collapsed inch by inch to the point where it could not be restored, revealing a heart-palpitating pitch-black color. An enormous devouring power that the starlight and spiritual lightning could not resist surged out and directly swallowed the starlight, lightning, and thunder that covered the sky and earth. Rumble. Thunderous rumbles continued to spread out from the void, causing people's hearts to tremble. The lightning bolts condensed from the purple-gold electric arcs were like purple-gold pythons, exploding in all directions, destroying the starlight and electric arcs. Originally, the streaks of starlight and thunderbolts were like countless falling stars, making it difficult for Du Xiaofu to deal with. However, with the appearance of the purple thunder profound cauldron, the pressure on Du Xiaofu was greatly reduced. He stabilized himself in the void, and the thunder martial veins around his body continued to devour the starlight and electric arcs. What was even crazier was that the purple lightning profound cauldron was swallowing the starlight spiritual lightning like a tide. It was like a bottomless pit that could not be filled. With Du Xiaofu and the purple thunder profound cauldron as the center, a huge black hole appeared in the void. Countless starlight and electric arcs were devoured and poured into the black hole. Starlight and electric arcs erupted and interweaved resplendently. They wanted to break free from the purple-gold profound bomb and Du Xiaofu's devouring, but they couldn't stop or retreat at all. So familiar. What exactly is that? Boy, who exactly are you? The sharp female voice of thunder echoed. At this moment, the spiritual lightning began to feel fear. From the three-legged cauldron, there was also an aura of fear in the depths of its memory. Now, do you still want to refine me? Du Xiaofu's eyes seemed to contain a sea of purple lightning. The thunder martial veins in his body absorbed the starlight spiritual lightning, and his entire body was wrapped in starlight and electric arcs. These starlight and electric arcs entered Du Xiaofu's body and caused Du Xiaofu's skin to sink in. Some of his skin even cracked, but then it recovered to normal. This cycle continued. Rumble. The starlight spiritual lightning in the surroundings crazily attacked and destroyed. However, no matter if it came into contact with Du Xiaofu, his body, or the purple thunder profound cauldron, it was like water that came into contact with dry sand. It disappeared in an instant. Human, how about we stay out of each other's business? Let's both take a step back. I won't devour you, and those energy bodies can be considered as a gift to you. How about it? The sharp sound of thunder echoed. The spiritual lightning seemed to want to compromise. Do you think I will believe you? The corners of Du Xiaofu's mouth curled up into a smile. With this spiritual lightning, how could Du Xiaofu believe that the spiritual lightning was so treacherous and cunning that the Yin energy bodies deliberately sent themselves to their deaths to restrain him? He was afraid that once the spiritual lightning found a new opportunity, it would instantly counterattack. At that time, he would be the unlucky one. Rumble. Sensing that Du Xiaofu had no intention of compromising, the countless starlight spiritual lightning arcs condensed into huge thunderbolts that were dozens of feet long and even dozens of feet long. All of them crazily rampaged, and with a continuous rumbling sound, they bombarded Du Xiaofu and the purple thunder profound cauldron. Under the crazy bombardment of the starlight spiritual lightning, Du Xiaofu's body and the purple thunder profound cauldron were also affected and were forced to retreat. Du Xiaofu's body also began to crack and show signs of sinking under the impact of the violent thunderbolts. However, it gradually recovered. Poof! However, at this moment, as Du Xiaofu and the purple thunder profound cauldron were affected, a dazzling electric arc swept out from the starlight spiritual lightning arcs and directly went into the outer star that was suspended in the void not far away. The starlight spiritual lightning arcs that filled the sky then followed into the outer star and disappeared. Then, the outer star's light became much brighter. The purple thunder profound cauldron swallowed the starlight spiritual lightning arcs around it, but it was unable to stop the other starlight spiritual lightning arcs from escaping. Du Xiaofu's thunder martial vein was wrapped, and under the effect of the immortal Xian body, his body was just recovering. As the starlight spiritual lightning arcs dissipated, the purple thunder profound cauldron withdrew into his palm. Did the spiritual lightning arcs escape? Qi Yeshi came to Du Xiaofu's side with a face full of shock. The shock on her beautiful face had yet to dissipate. The outer star is the place where the spiritual lightning arcs are hidden. Du Xiaofu looked at the outer star that was suspended in the void in front of him, his eyes flashing with lightning. He raised his eyebrows slightly and said, "Perhaps the outer star is the place where the spiritual lightning arcs were born." Are you saying that the spiritual lightning arcs were born and bred in the outer star? Qi Yeshi's eyes flickered and rippled. She was surprised but not surprised. The stars beyond the heavens were strange and profound. It was possible for it to have given birth to a bolt of spiritual thunder. Otherwise, no one would know where this bolt of spiritual thunder came from. Most likely. If we want to catch it, I'm afraid we have to go in. Du Xiaofu stared at the stars in the sky, and his eyes were burning with passion. Right now, it was no longer the spiritual lightning arcs that wanted to refine Du Xiaofu. Instead, it was Du Xiaofu that wanted to fuse with the spiritual lightning arcs that could only be encountered by chance. According to the signs of fusing with the spiritual lightning arcs in the past, Du Xiaofu estimated that as long as he fused with the spiritual lightning arcs, his soul would probably be able to advance to the next level. In terms of cultivation, coupled with the surging cold energy that he had recently refined, there was even great hope for him to advance further. However, Du Xiaofu was well aware of the danger involved. Although he had successfully fused with several spiritual lightnings, continuing to fuse with spiritual lightning arcs would probably be even more dangerous than before. However, this was an opportunity to strengthen himself and transform again. Du Xiaofu's heart was boiling. If there was an opportunity to advance further and transform his soul, it was far too tempting. It was enough for Du Xiaofu to take the risk. You want to deal with that spiritual lightning arcs? Qi Yeshi stared at Du Xiaofu. That spiritual lightning arcs was very frightening. At the moment, it was afraid of the divine thunder cauldron and Du Xiaofu's thunder martial vein and had retreated. However, she did not expect that this guy in front of her had his eyes on that spiritual lightning arcs. I have a way to fuse with the spiritual lightning. Don't worry. Du Xiaofu smiled at Qi Yeshi. Although this was a risky thing, he had the purple thunder cauldron, thunder martial vein, and the mysterious incomplete cultivation method. These were also the capital to take the risk. You still have some cold energy in your body that has not been refined. It will affect you. Why don't you make a plan after refining it? After hesitating for a moment, Qi Yeshi's eyes rippled as she spoke to Du Xiaofu with a serious expression. That spiritual lightning was injured just now. By the time I refine the cold energy in my body, it will have recovered and will be fully prepared. At that time, it will definitely be more difficult to deal with it. Moreover, I'm afraid that it will not give me the time to completely refine the cold energy in my body. Du Xiaofu raised his eyes and looked at the dazzling outer star that was filled with a vast aura. That spiritual lightning was injured by the purple thunder cauldron and was greatly affected. Once it recovered and made new preparations, it would be even more difficult to deal with it. In Du Xiaofu's heart, he did not believe that the spiritual lightning would give him the chance to completely refine the cold energy in his body. That spiritual lightning deliberately let him devour the surging cold energy in order to suppress him. Du Xiaofu did not believe that the spiritual lightning would miss such an opportunity. Although he could completely refine the cold energy in his body in the purple thunder cauldron and believed that the spiritual lightning would not be able to do anything to him, Du Xiaofu did not want the spiritual lightning to be prepared. The outer star is the place where the spiritual lightning was born. Even if it is just a place where it resides, it will definitely be extremely dangerous. Qi Yeshi was still extremely worried. It was almost impossible for a supreme being to completely suppress and merge with such a spiritual lightning. There were even supreme being ancestors of the Yin-Yang school who had died while trying to merge with the spiritual lightning. I will be careful. Wait for me outside. Du Xiaofu lowered his head and kissed the beautiful woman's frowning brows. Then he looked at the huge outer star in front of him. Purple lightning flashed in his eyes and his body was wrapped in the thunder martial vein talisman. As soon as he finished speaking, he turned into a flash of purple lightning and swept into the sky. Be careful. I will wait for you here. Qi Yeshi shouted at Du Xiaofu. She did not stop him. She knew what he needed the most now. Qi Yeshi did not follow him. She knew that she could not help him. The only thing she could do now was to wait quietly. Looking at the figure that had turned into a flash of purple lightning, Qi Yeshi's eyes rippled for a long time. Unknowingly, she realized that she was no longer the same person as before. She could no longer help him. He had already caught up with her and was even further ahead than her. I don't want to be further and further away from you. I don't want to be a burden to you. Qi Yeshi's red lips moved slightly as she murmured softly, "You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.